It's going to be alright. Believe in me. Just see.
show you one picture. You want one of these or you want to know what kind of chair? Okay. Gotta check the meeting. No, it's on mine. Which one is your favorite? Two. Which one you like more? Blue is the last. You like which one? Because I like both of them. So no, but it's just and then the train and then the train, the after people go to the Indian church. No, what it is, it's only
Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody? We survived another week corona-free. I believe that 1 week is gone already, better go. Did you guys get an email with the research paper attached to it? Instruction?
I just reached. I gotta do it now.
Good afternoon, how are you? Good afternoon. Good morning, grab a chair. Ms. Dan was supposed to send you by email the research paper. I guess you'll get it sometime between this evening and tomorrow morning. I'll say a little bit more about that as soon as a few more people have joined us. Hopefully. My phone.
Okay.
So you haven't done anything from Ms. Dan this afternoon yet?
No.
No.
Well, Aguia, Brandon, Kenny, Shante. It's 15. I can still do 16. There's some greedy people.
I have your course outlines for you, so the business knows, get some together, I'll pick them up. Those of you who are my online group, Ms. Dane will be sending you by email the course outline, as well as the research instructions. So you should get that somewhere between now and tomorrow morning, hopefully. Okay, does this have like a maximum? How do I get the maximum volume? So the students.
See. All right,
Because
guys.
I'm gonna ask some persons to read. Want to make sure we can hear them.
It at maximum volume now.
At maximum?
Yeah.
Okay, so they need to turn up their maximum as well for best effect.
I mean, you should be better.
Okay, Renita.
Anyone speak, yeah?
Hello, Renita. Anybody testing?
Hi.
Anybody?
Hi, Renita here.
You can let them
That's all.
Yeah, can you guys hear that? Hear her? Renita, say something like, yay.
Yay.
Great, because I'll be asking some of my online students to get involved in the reading today, so I just want to make sure we can hear you guys. I don't want
Okay.
you that we are going to leave you out of the excitement. Hell no. All right, so that's good.
Let's make sure we can see the board.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And so when I saw that hairstyle that he has, does anybody know what we call that?
Afro?
No, but I had an afro. Sure as hell didn't look like that. Well, things have changed right before my day, yeah. When I had an afro, it was a big old fluffy thing like this. And it was smooth, like you picked out your afro and then you pat it around.
Mm-hmm.
And like nothing touches that until you get back home. And like, but I'm not sure what that is, 'cause my baby has one of them. Like with the thing just, yeah. Well, actually, he had a real afro because he saw my picture when I was in high school and said, Dad, I want to do that. I'm like, oh, whatever. If you want to do that a million years later, fine, do it. I couldn't do anything about it. So he grew like a real afro for a while. Then after he got bored with that, he said, yeah, he started doing some other stuff, like budding it, and then some stuff growing down, like hanging out like little things. And then now he has that, like the hair just sticking up.
I can't take them forward with no.
What do you call that? He says, nothing, Dad. But sure you're not following fashion? He said, no, I like it like that, Dad. I know, but I said, but that looks uncombed to your father. He said, I know, Dad, but that's how we do it. I'm like, how do you fix it? Because I'm really curious about all this stuff. And he's on campus in Canada, I'm talking to him on the thing. Yeah, he's like, yeah, so you know this crap. They shape up some crap around here, and then they put something on the head like this, and just leave it. I was like, what the? As if I don't already feel like an auntie. They dare to call that a style. Sick. And he's very serious about that. And so after fighting with him for a few months, I'm like, you know what? I'm too old for this nonsense. When he gets tired of it, maybe he'll cut his hair back to normal. Because see what happened. A year ago, after he grew all that bud, fall down, this thing, that thing, he actually said, Dad, I'm cutting these things off. So he pulled it out. I want you to get this. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Manifestation. He's like, cut them off. And gave them to me. And I proudly accepted them. Put them in a plastic bag and mark it, Dante. Then he went to the barber and got a normal haircut, the way he was in high school. So he looks normal again, human. I'm like, oh, thank God. And then he went back to that flipping university. And within a few months, he had that. And he still has it. So every time I see him on the phone, I'm like, son, you still have that here? He laughs and said, yeah, Daddy, why? I said, aren't you dating now? He said, yeah, just recently. Like, she hasn't asked you to do anything like here yet? No. And I'm thinking, okay, so chicks don't have chicks have changed too, because when I was like his age, you had hair like that, you'd be like, hello? Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't wear your hair like that just to look like her. Gentleman. So yeah. I'm hoping for the day. I'm tired of that once again, and cuts it the way it should and used to be. Got it. Okay. Remember, if I suffocate under this mask, don't take me over there. Please bundle me up in your car or something if you call it again, whatever, and tell them which direction is the other place. That way, yeah, that way. At least until they revive me, and then I'll see what to do next. Okay. Again, if you don't get your research paper by tomorrow, please let me know by email. My email address is on the course outline. You can send me an email, you can send me a text so that I can make sure you get that. All right. Let me just take my initial register before I say anything else. I don't have to determine how much I need to say. Okay, is Malik here? Yes, over there. Anything exciting happened since last week? Okay. Yeah, he's already coming up with creative ways to do stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. By the time this semester's over, we think, man. This is, as you can see, this crap is very pervasive, and it's not just about how to lend money, how to collect it. It's all kinds of little stuff in there. Okay, Rochelle.
Yeah.
Right over there. I see Mr. Bowles in the paper again.
Oh boy, here you go again.
Somebody is the devil's advocate. Okay. Oh, boy.
So Mika,
Mika.
she'll be here in a little bit.
Okay, she's on the way. Stuck as I play with the space, Mr. Bo. She's probably helping him prepare the speech for.
Sure.
Don't tell him I said that, I'm very mad at me. Alishka? Sorry, not Alishka. Keisha.
Yeah.
Where's Keisha? Okay. I need to have like a little mask off session so I can see who I'm really talking to. Okay. Donna, let me just do a little walkabout, like 6 feet. See what you're doing. I mean, for sure. Okay, doggone it. Thank God I know I'm talking to now. Okay, I see. Yes. And over here, who's that mask person? Okay, you should. I have mine halfway. Yes. Thank you, Kaisha. And just, I did an online thing the other day. Nobody wanted to like show their faces online. Everything was black. I'm like, who am I talking to? I said, we here. I'm like, okay. Okay, I'll keep that. Is coming. Keisha is here. Anything exciting happened at the union since last week, Keisha? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good news. Annette. Annette Colbert. So who's sitting next to Keisha?
Tanisha?
Tanisha?
Mm-hmm.
Were you here last week, Tanisha?
I was online. You were online.
Are you online last week? Things keep shifting, just like the doggone corona thing. You were not here last week? Okay, so you need to put your name in there. Yeah. And I'll get my online people. Just as a reminder, your midterm exam will not more than likely, it will be the first hour and a half of week 4. Let me just put that here. Midterm. What date is week 4 anyway? Week after next. Anybody knows what date that is?
24. The week of the 24th.
That's the 24th?
The week of the 24th is Friday. So
Okay.
the
What's the exact date? Week after next Wednesday.
23rd.
Okay. July 23rd. So on July 23rd, you'll have your midterm exam. It'll be
No,
based.
it's the 22nd, sorry.
22nd. Okay. It'll be based on everything that we've covered up to end of next week, which will be credit. The exam will be for 2 hours for those persons who need 2 hours. Some people may not need all of that time. And then after the exam, you can't leave. We'll spend another 45 minutes to an hour or so, depending on how that goes, to start credit and collections. Sorry, the collection side of things. So week after next, Wednesday, July 22nd, the first 2 hours of the class will be the midterm exam, and then the next 45 minutes or so, or thereabouts, we'll start the collections process, because after that, the following week will be our final week for covering collections, and we want to make sure we get enough of that in as well.
What kind of the test? Is it multiple choice? Short
Oh, what type of
answers?
test it'll be?
Yeah.
Okay, good question. The test will be a combination of, it'll be like definitions, like define certain things, the meaning of certain things, like what is credit, stuff like that. So there'll be a couple of them.
When you say definition, are we doing based on memory or understanding?
Memory being word for word?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be word for word. If you're one of those persons who do the word for word thing, let it rip. But it doesn't have to be. As long as you convey the correct message, That's the deal. Okay? Which is quite fine with me. Okay, so the definitions, and I might throw in a few true and false just to make you miserable. Not miserable, you know what I mean? And then, of course, the third and largest group will be short questions. Short answers. And depending on what's happening, blah, 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 I might give what I call a bonus question so you can pick up some extra credit. The bonus question can be anything pertaining to what we discussed, or maybe something indirect to what we discussed, like what are your feelings about setting up a policy to conduct your credit, or any such thing of that nature, because what I want is to see how you put information in your own thoughts in your answer. So for more than likely, I'm not looking for a proverbial correct answer, I'm just looking for your response. And you get extra credit for the bonus question based on how well you do that. That is optional, you don't have to do it. But if you want some extra points, I encourage you to do that. Okay, for sure. So if you just study your notes and be familiar with the stuff we're talking about, this should not be a problem for you. Not at all. There'll be no surprises. We're not going to put stuff on the test that we didn't discuss, that's not in your notes, to try and catch you. That's not the objective. The objective is to see how familiar you are with the information, so when you go out into the real world, you can actually have a grasp and an understanding of what you're doing and trying to achieve. Remember your final exam, I'll just say this for the record, I'll say it again. The final exam is not cumulative, meaning it will only be based on collections material. Not everything. Good evening. Good evening. Come right in, grab a chair. Not everything from the beginning. Okay? So your midterm will be everything we've done up to the end of next week. Your final will be only on collections material that we've covered. Non-cumulative. Thank you.
Can you get something?
Just one thing.
Dominica.
Ah, Dominica, yes. Okay. He said you'd be in a minute, Dominica. There you go. Okay. And then we have Latoya. Latoya, you were not here last week. Okay, were you online last week? Okay, so you just kind of jumped on the boat. Great. So what you can do then, Latoya, real quick before we get started, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell me anything you feel like, and for those colleagues who might not know who you are.
My name is Latoya Oliver. Been in banking for about 14 years, and I have 5 children.
How old is the youngest?
7.
Kiss my foot. Latoya, you're a brave soul. Oh my God. And how old's the eldest?
23.
Kiss my foot. Okay.
So that's why I have to tell you what they're doing.
Yeah, oh yeah, you know the whole bloody thing.
Yeah.
Kiss my foot. Wow. Congratulations. That is no easy job. I only had 2 children in my life, and I still can't get rid of the last one. Yeah. No. But my older one, I don't know him sort of. I'm like, but he still checks in my head. But that younger one, oh my God. That I need. I need necessity, everything I guess you could think of, and I need. So yeah, but you still in the 7. Kiss my foot. 7. Okay. I was just remembering. All right, good stuff. At least when you get older and settle down, somebody will kick in. And if they don't, curse them. No, not curse them. Good night. All right, thank you, Latoya. And you're doing this class because?
I recently was assigned to a project in credit collection.
Oh, so this is right up your alley. Perfect, because we'll be saying, and you'll be reading a whole lot of interesting stuff, hopefully that will help you at least as you go forward, you'll understand, and even make certain recommendations. Just be careful with your recommendations. Remember, people don't like other people. Okay, thank you very much. Something Trotman? Tanisha. Were you online last week, Tanisha? Okay, great. So I can go on to this. So did you get a chance to introduce yourself, Tanisha, last week?
No,
You didn't get a chance. Okay, great. Let it rip.
my name is Tanisha Trotman. I work at the Bahamas Law Enforcement Credit Union. And that's basically it.
To be young again. Not too many things have happened yet. She hasn't gone through all the blah. Are you single or married, Tanisha?
I'm single.
Oh, that's sick. Do you have any kitties?
No, sir.
Oh my God, she's a babe and swan. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
In 20 years, you'll say, oh, I see why Mr. Wilkinson smiled. What I did not know what I was getting into in this damn world. Okay, so have fun. Okay, why are you doing this class, Tanisha?
Oh, just to learn more about that.
Okay, nobody's forced you, like, you better do it or else.
No, stay on boss.
Okay. Just teasing. All right, last but not least, Kanisha Thompson?
Aisha.
Kaisha. Okay, Kaisha. Did you introduce yourself last time?
I did. I'm a mother with 6 kids.
You?
Yes, that's her.
You're the mom with 6 kids?
That's me.
Yes,
Yes, that's her.
Mother's sick, Latoya, you believe that?
She's been good.
Let me go closer.
What's been going on? Go Brianna, last. I know that, I know.
You're the mom with 6 kids?
That's me.
What the?
I have a picture on there.
I still don't believe it. You need to bring me the birth certificates, each and every one. I need to. Yes. I'm just like this chick, like she just graduated from COB.
Yeah, she lied.
You're kidding, right, Ms. Thompson? This is no time for kidding. This is COVID time.
You have twins and triplets.
I don't care.
Child, you look good.
Damn
You
good.
look good.
Stand up and look at you.
I would have never.
What the?
Yes, you look good. You look like no 6 church.
I gotta pull a Steve Harvey. No way. Yeah. Oh my. That's the same thing I said. Malik was Bahamian chicks. They never look their age. They always look a million years younger. Malik. Oh, Malik. What he doesn't know is I'm trying to encourage him to get married to her. Bahamians. Not to have any problems with anybody else.
That on the board is for us. I missed that. If you-
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. For those who are not here, it looks like a foreign language.
That's a big.
Let me just get my
Definition.
Yeah.
online students first, and then I'll explain it again. I need to get over Kanisha. Kanisha, man. Damn.
You
Okay.
get it ready, so you can
Unbelievable.
Definition. 2, true and false.
I'm getting in the monologue.
understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now for my online group. Let me start with Janine. Janine, are you there? Laurie Bethel.
Here.
Okay, there you are, Laurie. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay. Tennessee Bo.
Here.
Okay, Tennessee, there you are. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I wonder what your name is today. Renita, I saw you earlier. Are you still there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Fantastic. I'm just putting you guys on notice. I will be calling on 1 or 2 persons on my online group to do some reading for us to participate in this madness. So I don't know who that will be. We shall see. Rochelle, sorry, Tiffany.
I'm here.
Okay, Tiffany. Is Tiffany? Oh. Tanisha. Oh, doggone it. Sorry, Tanisha. That was another Tanisha.
She was online last time. She
Yes.
was in class this time.
Yeah, this is an interesting session we have. Online last time, in class this time, online next week. Okay. Is there anybody online that I didn't call?
Yes, Gertie Bullard.
Gertie. Gertie, were you with us last week?
No, I wasn't.
No, you were not. Gertie, why don't you introduce yourself to us then? We're waiting patiently.
Hi, my name is Gertie Bullard. I guess I've been in banking for many years, but in the last 20 years, I've been working with a property management company and trucking company, and I find that I still revert every now and again in my mind and doing stuff banking related, and with all the multiple banks that have lots of bad debts and financial institutions around town, I figure one of my multiple streams of income could very well be collections, because I've done it in the past in my tenure as a banker. So I'm here doing this course to see if I can have some stuff flowing down my stream.
Sounds good to me. It never hurts to have something streaming from somewhere.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. Well, welcome aboard. And definitely, we always need collections work, and I suspect for the next year or 2 or 3, more so than ever. So, yeah, warm up that machine and put some oil in it. You never know. Welcome aboard. Anybody else whose name I didn't call online? Fantastic. Okay, great. Now, for those of you online, I was telling folks earlier that Letitia was supposed to send some stuff to you. Your research paper, you should get that within the next 24 hours latest. And she will also be sending you your course outline, and you should get that within the next 24 hours. If you do not get that information, please contact her and say, hello, where's that information? And if worse comes to worse, contact me and I'll help you contact her so that you can get that information. Does everybody have my email and cell number? Online.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we do.
Yes, sir.
I don't.
Who said no?
Gertie.
Gertie.
Okay, Gertie, so I'll put it over here for you. S as in Samuel, J, H, Wilkinson, WILKINSON, at hotmail.com. And then my cell number is 565-9551. All right, so if you don't get all this stuff within 24 hours, call Ms. Dean, and if that doesn't work, call me and I'll help you call her.
Okay, thank you.
With regards to the research paper, let me just say something quickly before we get into the lecture for this evening about that. Just to warm you up a little bit. This guy? This guy. Which is supposed to remind. In the old days, my grandmother, there it is. My grandmother said the devil is busy. Anybody knows that one? Who knows that? I have a grandparent, or they're older than they.
Look.
Absolutely. I can't get over that chick. Anyone else? Am I the only one? Yes, my son.
No, you're not.
Sorry?
You're not.
Okay. Oh, man. Does anybody online know Tanisha? Taisha?
Yes. Yes.
We do.
You people know
Workers.
Taisha?
BLECCU.
So that flicking story about the fact that she's the mother of 6 is true?
All true.
Man, I can't even get into my lecture for that nonsense. Just when I thought I've seen everything in my millions of years on this dastardly, not that, I shouldn't say dastardly, this planet, she shows up like, anyway, I need to get past that. It's a compliment, actually. That's really all. All right. So the research paper that you will get has a very broad topic that you will see. I want you to get it first and mull over it. I just want to mention a couple of things so you can start thinking about it. I give you some writing tips that says make sure you research the topic as well as you can. Use your textbook, your notes, the internet, whatever you need to use. And then I ask you to do some specific things that you will see. For example, you are to write the body of the research paper, then you are to do an introduction and a conclusion, and I just put that in there so you don't have to guess about what to do. Hopefully you make that a little easier on you. Prepare a bibliography. It doesn't have to be a big time stinky bibliography like you're writing a PhD paper. That's not what I mean. But I do want you to do something of a bibliography. If you've never heard the word bibliography before, all you need to do now, thanks to
Google.
Absolutely, Google the hell out of it. Okay?
That's an email.
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Jane is going to send this to you.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't get it in 24 hours, call her, send her an email. And, hello? For you guys who are online, you should get your course outline and the research paper. Those of you guys who are in the room will only get your research paper. If you don't get those things within 24 hours, start griping. Sort of. Okay? Google how to prepare bibliography. Keep it simple, keep it clean. Okay? If you're like Dante, my baby, this guy Googles everything. When he calls me from he's eating, talking to me, and Googling, he says, hold on, let me check what that means. Oh, okay. So don't worry about it. Just Google it and let it rip. Create a title page, which is just a heading. All of that will be on the paper. Okay? Do not plagiarize. What do I mean?
Don't teach the people work.
Yeah, don't copy and paste. Give me some credit for having gray hair. I can spot copy and paste.
Mile away.
Absolutely. I'll sniff it long before I even open it. Somebody plagiarized. Okay? I had a couple of students who did that. It was so obvious, ridiculous. I was even embarrassed to bring it to their attention because I was embarrassed for them. Okay? So don't do that. You can reference stuff, give credit. If you want to quote something from somebody, do that. That's no problem. If you want to copy and paste like a big old paragraph to say something, do it, but do what?
Give them credit.
Give them credit. Okay? So Lyndon said, can you remember Celinda?
Of course.
Okay, it's good. I don't know if nobody said anything. I'm just checking. We forget. Yeah. Give credit to the writer if you have to use their work. If you want to quote somebody, you put them in what? Quotation marks, that's all. And I quote according to John Doe. Put the quotation open quotes. They said this, close the quotes. Give them credit. Don't write it as if you invented. Nothing wrong with inventing. The rest of it should be your what? Invention. But do give persons whose work you use directly credit for referencing their work. Okay? Please. The paper should be no less than 5 typewritten pages. No less than 5. It'll be on this sheet that you're gonna get. Yeah, you're not doing it. It'll be on this sheet. I'm just kind of getting you warmed up. Yeah, you could go on and on and on and bore me to death. That's okay. I don't. I don't mind as long as you don't switch from credit elections to like Jompano and then the next election and then something like that. Like things like, but as long as it's relevant, please make it as complete as you can. I don't have a problem with that. After all, it is a research paper. The reason why I said I don't want it to be less than 5 pages, because I don't want anybody to become creative. And if I don't give any number of pages, they might give me 1.5.
With a photo.
Yeah, with a photo.
Nothing wrong with that, we can say plenty.
You know, but
I can say a lot.
that's true.
Okay.
Picture, please. Yeah, the picture will say a lot. Just won't say a lot about your literary and research. Yes, indeed. In your research paper, if you want to use pictures, tables, graphs, and all that to help you, that's not a problem. You can put them on as attachments, or you can build them inside the body if it's not too elaborate. If it's elaborate, you can put them on as appendices, not a problem. Okay, the appendices, they will not be part of the lesson 5. They'll just be gravy. All right. Double space, please. Don't, like the old people say, don't scrunch it up. Who can spell scrunch anyway? It's a funny word to spell. Don't scrunch it. What does scrunch mean? Like, don't don't squeeze it. Okay. Double space, please. Make it easier for me too. Absolutely. My eyes are not as young as they used to. For sure. All right. Font type Times Roman, please. Not like all the cribbling. Aztec, Maya, all kinds of different. I don't need this. And then last but not least, please make the font size 14, not 12. After all, my eyes are not as young as they used to. I can't believe I was just a youngster like these people the other day. Remember those days?
And if you do those papers.
The due date?
On or before?
On or before. Well, let me put it this way. Because our last class is going to end at the end of week 5. I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but depending on how we progress with the collection side, which is not as detailed as the credit side, we might end up having our exam the end of week 5, which is the last class, or the following week for the first 1.5 to 2 hours to do the final exam only. So more than likely, the following week, the final will be week 6, because we're going to need that extra 1.5 weeks for collections. So you can make a note that the final exam will be week 6. What date is week 6 anyway? Anyone?
That'll be the 4th of August, I believe. Is that correct?
Do I have a second?
Right?
The 5th of August.
5th of August.
August the 5th?
Yeah.
That's not a holiday, is it?
No.
Okay, not August, Monday and all that.
Monday's holiday.
Which, the 4th. So you guys have that day off to study then.
A whole day.
Perfect. All right. So August the 5th will be your final exam. Absolutely. Okay. So therefore, your paper is due on or before
August 5th.
August 5th. So those of you who can do the research ahead of our lecture on collections and I want to finish before the 5th, not a problem. Feel free to do that. But those of you who want to, because the material is there, some persons will just read it and say, I'm going to wing it, on it, and pass it in earlier. Other person might say, wait a minute, I want to wait for that lecture and that discussion and blah, 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 and take all the time I need. And so if you're that person, the last day will be August the 5th. So when we come in for this particular session, there will be no class. You will do your examination and wave to each other and me that you're done. Okay. All right. Any questions on the research paper? All that information will be on the document that you will get. Again, if you don't get it within 24 hours, you know what to do. Pause on it. Start rattling the saber. Okay. If there are no other questions at the moment, then we can roll. The credit history example. Did you guys have a look at that? There were 2 examples on that page.
I looked at it.
The
Yeah,
Clara one.
Antonio, and what's the name?
Clara,
Clara.
the one who was in school, the college student with the 500.
Oh, you did read that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I started reading them, like this, they should have put Dante there. Because this is yeah. Okay. Well, really, what these examples are designed to do is just give you a little basic insight into how people can establish their credit and how they can ruin their credit. Okay. So if you, oh, Antonio, my God.
He left.
He
Like,
must
you
have-
learn your business. Now you learn your business money out. You think we were paying you back?
I have never seen, not only the fact that he loaned it out, but he loaned it to a friend who had relationship problems with this young whippersnapper. What's his name again?
Yeah, because he had to
Tanisha.
move up. He had to take her on trips.
Tanisha.
Buy all that fancy car and all of that.
I know. Trust me, I know. Because when I bought my high school girlfriend, the first, I spent all of my allowance. And I was sad after that. I flipped in and pressed 6 and I was only like 15. But I thought she was the most beautiful thing that ever walked on the planet. I could remember that day, Clara Sin. She came up in St. John's College. Mother's sick. She had on a little St. John's uniform, and she's like, you know, that Niagara starch. She used to starch in the water and then starch it down. So when she walked, the thing like this, bam, like that. I can still remember right on that second up there. And she came and she had that on a little St. John's thing, and she had here this little flicking, puffy afro like they wore back then, curly thing with the little thing pulled around the top. Mother sick. And she had these little doggone, like, I dream of genie eyes like that. Flicking, dun, 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 dun. I'm like, mother sick. So I know, trying to impress. That's what Antonio's friends got stuck. He should not, she's probably right. And he was stupid. Because guys do weird stuff to chicks sometimes. Oh, wow. Okay. Doesn't matter what age, I have a young one. That means I'm not out of the woods yet. Okay. So yeah, Antonio, I think all of us who've read these credit history cases, we pretty much know what we shouldn't do. Okay? If you didn't know, check out Antonio and Clara. These are just mild examples of what we can do to ruin our credit and our situation. In essence, don't do these things, lest you be found wanting. And remember, what's coming up in the Bahamas soon? The credit what? Sick. So you do that kind of stuff, you can end up where? On that list. Yes. And then your life will become a real living hell. Not like the old days when you could get away with stuff. And you could just go in and still borrow money from your friend who is a banker. Somebody feels sorry for you or something like that. Once that bureau hits, you're not going to have any friends. You're going to be talking to a machine. Press this to see what your rating is. 574. Zip all. Yes, we're talking now to machines. Okay? I went to Scotia the other day to do a transaction. They pointed me to the ATM. So
Yeah.
this me like, my hair is very dark, like I can see the citizen. They said, doesn't matter. If you go up. That way.
Cashless.
Yes. I said, so when the grandma thing I'm coming,
I'm sorry for her.
They don't answer you when you ask for grandma thing. They just like,
Well, all you gotta do is be them people,
Hmm?
you know. People on machines and get
I know, but
paid.
grandma, I don't know how to do that stuff. Oh, they go into the branch. Oh, thank God. There's a small provision window. Oh, okay. Well, that's some relief. All right. But the point is, it is getting quite interesting. All right. So now that we know a little bit about the credit bureaus and the credit this and the credit history examples and all that stuff, let's take a moment to talk about credit risk. As a matter of fact, I'm doing an online class with a bunch of lawyers and bankers and all that stuff who are doing a credit risk management program through the Institute as we speak. And that session yesterday ran for 3 hours, and we spent 3 hours screaming and shouting about risk management. And so risk management is part of what we call credit risk, which is just in front of you, okay? And we start our little discussion with the big time question: what is credit risk? Absolutely. Sorry, what is credit risk? Or yeah, credit risk. Okay. So I'm going to call on doggone Laurie first. Since nobody online read last week, Laurie, can you get us started with what is credit risk?
Credit risk is a measure of the creditworthiness of a borrower. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. In calculating credit risk, lenders are gauging the likelihood they will recover all of their principal and interest when making a loan. Borrowers considered to be a low credit risk are charged lower interest rates.
Yes.
Lenders, investors, and other counterparties consult ratings agencies to assess the credit risk of doing business with companies.
And we were talking about rating agencies last week. As a matter of fact, Standard & Poor's and Tom Jones the other day said, oh, the Bahamas' rating has gone down even further, as if we deliberately mess things up. But notice, it doesn't matter what caused it. You follow? So if you're a borrower and you go into the bank and said, I was dying, I got a divorce, flicking, that's your problem. Now, when I say that's your problem, that doesn't mean the banks won't help you. The banks have been very helpful during this pandemic. But when we get out of the pandemic, those of us who are still swimming, better put on some oxygen tanks.
Or you can drown.
Because I noticed BEC is already on the
Turn off.
prowl. All that
off.
credit we gave you people, that risk is going to be reduced now because we expect you to pay in full. If you don't, what are they going to do?
Turn you off.
When we come out of this thing and the bank's going to say, we've been very gracious with you. We've given you a 3-month moratorium, in some cases 6 months. If you don't pay us, we'll. That's just the way it is. But that's part of the credit risk issue. Unfortunately, the lender cannot be a God saver indefinitely. Borrowers are going to have to find a way, those who are in trouble, to ask their bankers to help them work it through, consolidations, restructuring, whatever the case might be. Please give me 1 more month after that. If I don't pay nothing, take your old house or whatever. But we have to work it. But all of that is part of the credit risk that bankers, lenders of any kind face with any particular environment. Because remember, the money that they lend out is not theirs. Whose is it? The depositor's money, after all. They just make money on other people's money. So they have an obligation to get the depositor's money back as well. Absolutely. Because if they don't get the depositor's money back, they're going to have to put it back from their profits. And who's interested in doing that? Only if we have to. Okay? All right, keep going, Laurie.
When determining the credit risk involved in making loans, lenders are judging borrowers' ability to pay back debt. A range of factors go into assessments of credit risk, including credit history and credit score.
Those things again.
Debt to income ratio and collateral. Credit history and credit score independent credit bureau maintain records of borrowers. Credit payment history, total debt load, and types of credit taken out to generate credit scores. They sell this data to financial institutions to help them assess credit risk.
That's how credit bureaus continue to do business. They collect this information and then they sell it. Will that happen that way in the Bahamas? We have to wait and see. But basically, that's how the whole credit thing works. They get this information on all the borrowers in the Bahamas, and then they put it in the banks, and those lenders who wish to know what's going on with people who come to borrow, the lenders will then contact the credit bureau, see what the credit score is, et cetera, what the credit history is and all that stuff, and then make a decision about whether to lend or not. Again, all of this is designed to do what? To mitigate against credit risk. What is credit risk? The risk that the borrower will not be able to repay. That's always a concern for lenders. Even if we lend our money individually, if a family member comes and says, can I borrow $100, I'll pay you next week, does that concern you?
Very much so.
Yeah, for some of us regular folk, thank you very much, that is a concern. Maybe for some other people who $100 doesn't matter to, maybe it's not a concern. That's their bestest family member. If you don't pay me, fine. But for the most part, we expect to be repaid. And all too often, family members don't what? Hell no. If you expect to be repaid, you should lend to whom? Yes, strangers. She knows that. That is unfortunate, but it's also true in too many instances. Has anybody been able to figure out why the credit risk is so great with family members as opposed to strangers?
Use my family, they don't feel obligated to pay you back.
They
know too much about you. Most of the time they know about you, so they size you up. So
yeah.
They come to a conclusion whether you need it or you don't need it. That's why No, but he's asking why.
No, but she's right. They assume that
you don't need it.
Yeah, for example.
If they feel you're in a good position, your family member will approach you versus another family
Sure.
member asking, and they won't pay you back because
Absolutely. Let me ask, do you have a home?
Yeah.
And a car? Sorry for you. And your family member, they may not tell you, but in their mind, plus you work for who?
I work there, I don't own it.
It matters not to family.
They like to use like
Fidelity, right? Watch this. House. Yeah. Job, big time job too. At what? Fidelity Bank. See? Not like bank. Fidelity. So as far as they're concerned, you could be as broke as a bank. It doesn't matter. In their mind,
you get
no, you work for you have all that stuff. You don't need the money back. And if you ask for it back, you are niggardly.
Yeah, you're mean.
Yes. And when you're dead, man, come into your front row.
Like good.
Look
Like
here,
that.
look here.
You're dead.
Look here, Mr. Wilkins. This person asking me for money, right?
There you go. It, like my grandma used to say, it ain't out my mouth yet. Absolutely. How do I know? Because family members owe me thousands of dollars, which I'll never get back. I've written it off.
Good for you.
Some of them you have to write off.
Well, you're not going to get it, but you might as well write it off. Okay? I had an I'll just say this without calling any names. No names. What an in-law. Let me put that one. Just say in-law.
In-law? No way.
My wife here.
Yeah.
I ain't saying, all I say is in-law. I'm not saying it's an old more than you or the nothing in between. You do some work. You didn't ask them for your work.
You're working.
And they say for the work you'll be paid X. What a sick.
Oh.
Now, don't get me wrong. When they go to think to buy stuff, they do what? Pay. Thingam. Whenever other people do work, they pay them. But when you do the work, because you like,
they owe you.
You're like what?
In-law.
Meaning? How?
Close.
How?
You married to this
Dad,
sister.
children, yeah.
Now you still be
Their son or daughter. No, I spell nothing yet. Because of that, they could don't pay. How you spell don't? D-O-N. Don't pay. And you are expected to be quiet. Because if you say anything, then you
Create
are
problem.
you're niggardly. You're a mean son or daughter-in-law. Yeah. I don't know why my good daughter marry you anyhow. You just don't seem to realize that all us here to benefit from your blood. Make sure that Louis. I just say it for drama, but it's true drama. Okay? Just so you can remember. But unfortunately, these things are real. It is easy to get money from a stranger that you lend money to. It is easier to intimidate a stranger to pay you back. It is easier for you to sue a stranger that you lend money to. But once you start getting closer to the no side, it's harder to do any of those things. And that's why we call it credit risk. The risk that the borrower will not pay. There are a million reasons why. I just brought out one or two of the domestic issues. But at the end of the day, you still don't get. Yes. And what is interesting is, with these people, when they pay you, you still use the money for what? Yeah, their children. Okay, sorry. Just made that point. Keep going, Laurie.
Total debt load. This measures how much existing credit has been extended to a borrower and how much of that credit she has already utilized. The less credit a borrower has used, the more able they should be to pay back a new loan.
True or false? Correct. Okay.
Creditors like to see how easily a borrower can get credit and judiciously they balance it.
What does judicious balancing of credit mean, you think? Say it again. Judicious balancing of credit. Not borrowing beyond your means. Just borrow enough so that you can pay back your loan or loans, pay your other expenses, and still maybe have a few dollars left to save or otherwise. That's what judicious means. But there are a lot of people who do not borrow judiciously. They have debt loads that are drowning them like this. They can't breathe. And so they have to engage in all kinds of stuff in order to manage that debt. Ducking, dodging, hiding, lying, whatever they have to do to manage this debt burden. Okay? So if you're a lending officer and you're assessing a client, you have to look to see what that debt burden is all about and maybe know when to tell your client it's time to what? Back off. You are overburdened. This is going to drown you, and it's going to cause the lending institution, the bank that I work for, to work very hard in its what department? Collections department, to get this money back from you. Okay? All right, keep going.
Debt to income ratio. This compares the amount a person makes against their living expenses and debt payments. Lenders use it to decide if a borrower can afford to take on a new debt payment.
Indeed. Now, let me just say this for the record. If your total income is $2,000 a month, and your loan at Fidelity Bank, I'm just picking on Rochelle now, because she is not going to get paid that money. When you give it to Rochelle, just say, I'm not bothering it. This is a gift. All right. The loan at Fidelity Bank is, give me a loan figure, anyone. Oh, sorry, the payment.
Oh, the payment?
900? Oh, just sick people have $900 loan payment? Other than mortgage? I mean, other than mortgage. People have loan payments of 900 other than the mortgage payment?
Try 15. Try 18.
They're not mortgage payments?
No, sir.
No.
Oh, that's sick. I've been out of the game long. Kiss my foot. Okay, let's just use the 900. Okay. That's one loan payment. Okay. If the loan payment is 900 and their total salary is 2,000, that means their debt to income is what?
Income?
Yes. Debt to income.
Oh, come on.
45%.
Yeah, already 45%. Almost half of their income.
Well, that's it. That's the maximum.
Yeah, well, the banks have a standard that they allow you to borrow up to what? 45% of your income. So this person is already at the average bank's what? Maximum. So if they need $200 dead bad, can they get it?
No.
How?
Because-
Yeah, depending on the bank. But generally speaking, no. Because once you reach the 45% limit, that's it. But again,
ain't going to work.
no, some banks, well, yeah, it depends on what their agenda is. If they're rolling and they have a big loan portfolio, they're having a great time, they don't need you, then they'll say 45. That's it. Or you say, well, mine is 46, can you just? No, it's 46, it's 1% over. The answer is no. Some institutions, yeah, will do that. Others will make exceptions. Okay, some will go up to 50%, 55, even 60, depending on other factors. You're going to get an increase next year. You have a potential for promotion. You've been with the bank a long time. You follow, folks? So some of it is quantitative, like this one, debt to income. That is a quantitative assessment involving pure numbers. And then the other side of lending is qualitative, looking at factors that are not statistical or money or directed. Okay? And so the banker has to have this capability. Yes, this is the policy of the bank, but given the nature of the customer and some other qualitative issues, we'll go over 5 to 10 to 15% given the situation. If you can prove to them that you had your last car for 12 and a half years and it's about to explode and kill you and your family, they might go over since you've been there with them for a while and you have a mortgage with them and. Okay? So again, it all depends. Now those banks who are not that flexible, well, hopefully they're doing well because word will get around that they are inflexible. And then what will customers do?
Not good.
Yes, they will go to another financial institution and pay them out. So all of a sudden your mortgage portfolio. So what happens is they don't want to do the car loan, so you go somewhere else and they say, any other loans at Fidelity? Says, yes, mortgage, really? We'll pay them out and give you the car loan. As a matter of fact, we'll give you the car loan as part of the mortgage. We'll do an equity loan for the car. Whatever. All of a sudden, I'm just standing up here being creative. Absolutely, you need a down payment because we're holding your home as collateral and blah, blah, blah. You need any gas in the car, pay the insurance, whatever. And that's how we thought about banking decades ago when I was a young banker. So I can imagine how creative an institution can be in today's competitive market. When Corona passes and things settle down, all hell is going to break loose in terms of blah, blah, blah. And everybody gets back to work and kicking again. So I encourage any banks, don't be mean to your customers now because they might not fall. Yeah. All right. Keep going, Laurie.
Collateral. This is the assets owned by a borrower that can be used to secure a loan. The more collateral a borrower has, the lower the possible credit risk for a lender.
Keep
For
going.
company, you want me to go on?
Yes, please.
For companies, credit risk represents the risk that a company may not be able to make payments on its outstanding debt ratings agencies. Moody's and Standard and Poor's, for example, analyze bond offerings and issue credit ratings that grade the credit risk of different debt instruments.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible to give your creditworthiness a facelift by reviewing your credit report for any mistakes paying down credit card debt, making all payments on time, and cutting expenses wherever possible.
In other words, it's just here, we're just trying to give you some insight on if you're an individual and your credit rating is at risk, these are the things you should consider for your own personal life. If you're a lender and you're trying to figure out what kinds of things should I be considering for my persons who might be running into credit trouble, these are the kinds of things you have to discuss with your borrowers so that you can help to what? Bring them back in line. I was talking to a not young lady, she's over 60, and over 60 young lady. She said, what she was saying about something, I said, do you have a will? She said, I don't need a will for this old termite house I have. I said, my big termite infested, but somebody will want it when you pass away. I suggest if you want somebody to have that house in particular, you should write a one-page will. Because you don't need more than one page to will a house. You don't need, how many wheretofores can you write? You only need, so don't any lawyer tell you need like a $500 thing. For what? And you only need one page. I hereby of sound mind and creek, my road infested and uninfested home too. My best is whomever.
Then that's it.
That's it. And she said, oh, Jesus, I didn't think about that. Oh, Mr. Wilkinson, thank you. She was so grateful for that information because a lot of people are not aware of what you think they're aware of. Same thing in the credit world. You have to know these things as a lender and even as a borrower so that you can help yourself because you're not always going to be operating in the capacity of a lender, are you?
No.
You're going to be operating as a borrower one day, and one of these things are not going to go the way you want. Your next going to be on the block. And the more you understand about what you can do, this is, I'm glad I did that class. Now I can try and fix this thing. Or when they're talking to you about what to do, you say, man, I don't understand what you're saying. You say, I understand. That's the beauty of doing this stuff. You don't always see the return immediately, but in due season. Okay. All right, keep going, Laurie. Credit risk example.
Ignoring credit risk was the major animating factor behind the financial crisis of 2007-2008. In the years leading up to the crisis, banks and other lenders lent vast sums in the form of subprime mortgages to high-risk borrowers. As the economy slowed in 2006-2007, many of these risk borrowers couldn't repay their loans, and the turbulence from this systematic failure to properly account for credit risk nearly wrecked the global financial system in late 2008. Major banks suffered losses because the models they used incorrectly assessed the likelihood of default on mortgage payments.
Thank you very much, Laurie, for that information. And so if it wasn't clear before, the nature of credit risk should be more than vivid in your minds, not only for you as a lender, but also for you as a borrower, and how our borrowers can actually impact the status of those who are lending money. And mortgages in particular are a major source of concern for financial institutions. That's why when you miss a mortgage payment, all hell breaks loose. Even the board wakes up. Because remember, mortgages are generally what? Long-term. And for those of you who successfully complete part 1, I encourage you to do part 2. Why? Because part 2 now goes into details about how to extend mortgage loans and business loans and stuff like that, along with some other interesting itsy-bitsy and certain techniques we use for collecting from these sources. Okay, so it's a very dynamic area, this thing called credit and collections. Sounds simple, but there's nothing simple about it whatsoever. All right, thank you very much, Laurie. We'll get somebody else from the Doggone online group. Tennessee, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, wonderful, Tennessee. Do you know that Tennessee is the name of a place in the U.S., Tennessee?
Yes, I do. I brag about it all the time.
Did you ever ask your folks why they named you Tennessee?
After the Tennessee Waltz.
Stop the madness. I figured that back in the day.
Back in the day.
Okay, way to go, Tennessee. Can you pick it up for us, credit risk management? So we talked about credit risk. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how do financial institutions and lenders go about managing this risk. Okay, like any other risk, if you don't manage it, it will go out of whack. Absolutely. That's why BEC turned on the heat right away. Say we give you 3 months of life, and all you know get severance pay. Don't go to no Miami.
3 months of life, you use air conditioning, now you get paid.
And don't waste your severance pay, but you don't have no fun. Come pay us first. And the banks are going to do the same thing with them severance pay people. Didn't you just get severance pay? They're going to, when you go, I can't pay my loan. The bank's going to say, where do you work? I used to work at Bahama. Until when? Until last week. Great. That means you have what?
Money.
Severance pay. Pay up your loan. Not only for the past 1 or 2 months, but for the next what? 1 or 2 months to 3 months in the future. I don't want to pay that. My money will be gone. They don't care. You worry?
You pay.
It's going to be an interesting time. Yes. All right. Okay, Tennessee. That's how do we manage this credit risk?
I don't see it. Where's the page?
Oh.
Let's put it to the screen.
Doggone. Credit risk management, right under credit risk. After the discussion on credit risk example. Page 7.
Page 7.
Front and back. Counting front and back.
Counting front and back, page 7.
3, 4, 5. Oh, I see it.
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Let it rip.
All right. Credit activity is always one of the core activities of banks.
True or
For
false?
banks.
That is the biggest, especially if it's a lending institution. Okay, absolutely.
For banks and financial institutions, corporate customers are always the main subjects that they aim to grant credit.
Who are corporate customers? Sorry.
The amount of credit.
Business loans, big business, middle-sized business, small businesses, corporate business is the biggest business, followed by mortgages, followed by consumer loans, followed by.
Somebody used to be it.
It depends on the institution. Yes, absolutely. Rochelle said, not where I is.
No.
Certain things don't work in that order.
Okay,
And I agree with her. Depending on the financial institution and the lender you work for, corporate loans may well be your least amount or maybe even non-existent.
Non-existent.
There you go. Because their focus is the other things down. How about that? Oh my God. Okay, keep going, Tennessee.
The amount of credit granted to corporate customers always accounts for the largest proportion and is also the riskiest. This is not only an activity that generates a major source of revenue for banks, but also a potentially risky activity. To understand what credit risk management is, we must first study the concept of credit risk. Credit risk is the risk arising due to the borrower's failure to strictly comply with the terms of the credit contract. This might happen when the customer is late in debt repayment, not fully pays the debt amount, or fails to pay debt when principal and interest amounts are due, causing financial losses and difficulties in the business activities of commercial banks. In the context of today's competition and integration, one of the essential factors contributing to the existence and development of a commercial bank is its ability to manage risk, especially credit risk, in a comprehensive and systematic manner. Credit risk management is understood as the process of identifying and analyzing risk factors, measuring the level of risk, thereby selecting measures to manage credit activities to limit and eliminate risk in the credit process.
Keep going. Sorry. Credit risk? Credit risk management, yes. Because remember, the definition for credit risk and credit risk management are not the same.
Right. Credit risk is the measurement of the creditworthiness of a borrower.
And the fact that the borrower may not repay. That's credit risk. What is credit risk management?
Is the process of identifying and analyzing risk factors, measuring the level of risk, thereby selecting measurements to manage credit activities to limit and eliminate risk in the credit process.
Thank you. So they're not the same. So if I say hint. If I say in one of these true and false, I'm going to put into, I antagonize you. Like credit risk and credit risk management are the same, true or false? What you just say? False. Okay. And like she was saying earlier, time. I'm playing it safe at the same time. Tanisha? Kai. K. Okay. Tanisha. I want to get that. I'm the old school. I want to get that Tanisha. Kaisha. I'm going to get it before the 5th week.
Hopefully.
All right, good day. Latoya Oliver. There you go. Yeah, so don't let me get you in the examination where that true false, like they're the same, they're not. And as you can see, Kaisha, can I say that right?
You got it right.
As you can see, you don't necessarily have to learn the definition word for word. Once you get the core meaning and understanding, throw that in there and let it rip.
Oh, well.
Okay, by all means. If you're one of those people who can remember crap verbatim, be my guest. Verbatim it to help. But you don't have to remember it verbatim to come up with the correct response. Okay, Tennessee, keep waltzing.
Practices and techniques applied by banks in the process of credit risk management are as follows.
Okay.
Planning credit strategy, building credit processes and policies. Credit strategy is the development plan in a defined time period of a bank. The operational strategy reflects the bank's willingness to take risks. Through the credit strategy, credit process policies are in place to ensure that credit operations achieve positive results as set out in the plan.
Indeed, and again, the bank is looking for a strategy long-term, whereby when they lend the money, they get the majority of the deposits back and the majority of the interest back in terms of interest income. That is a long-term strategy for any lender. And so anything that gets in the way of that strategy could cause problems for a borrower, because the lender is coming to you with gritted teeth, with everything they've got at the end of the day, especially if they get the feeling that you are deliberately trying not to pay them. Okay, keep going.
Credit analysis. This is the most basic content of credit risk management. Credit analysis is the collection and processing of information and consideration and assessment of factors affecting a client's ability to pay loans as a basis for making appropriate lending decisions. Scattering credit risk. This activity includes performing well the process of classifying and setting up credit risk provisions, as well as regulations on prudential ratios in credit activities. Establishing internal scoring and ranking customers' system on the basis of regular monitoring of customers' performance with early warning indicators, including financial analysis indicators and related information.
Indeed, and then finally, the types of credit risk.
Credit spread risk occurring due to volatility in the difference between investments, interest rates, and the risk-free return rate. Default risk arising when the borrower is not able to make contractual payments. Downgrade risk resulting from the downgrades in the risk rating of an issuer.
Indeed, thank you very much, Tennessee, for that waltz. Tennessee waltz, it's fascinating. Okay, thank you very much. So you can see then, we have this credit risk. We know what that is now. We know that this risk has to be managed. And we also know that financial institutions usually have policies and procedures and practices and techniques, that those are the words that are used, that they have in place. For example, you may work for a financial institution that says, we're not giving a loan to anybody who is under 21, who has not been working for 1 year or more, in some cases 2 years or more, and so on. So you have these very direct stipulations. And then some financial institutions, they have a numbering system. They allocate a certain amount of numbers for certain things. If you've been working 3 to 5 years, 10 points. 10 to 20 years, 20 points, like this. And then they add it up. If you meet the minimum standard points, you get this kind of loan with this kind of interest up to this amount. If you meet a certain other number level, you get more money, better rates, and so on. So some institutions have it worked out right down to the T. As a matter of fact, in the old days, human beings used to do all our work manually. Nowadays, a lot of that stuff is in the computer. So all the human beings doing is this. How long have you been working for? You've been 3.5 years, throw that in. The computer computes the hell out of it. Then it's, where have you, what type of work are you doing? Garbage collection. Nothing on garbage collection. Don't get me wrong. But the computer has been designed to see garbage collection as high risk for some reason, unless you work for government. Or unless you work for that private garbage collection company that's doing very well over. Aha! See, it's all relative. Now you have to teach a computer to be relative, which is impossible. That's why we can't get rid of human beings completely, because based on what comes out of that dump called the computer, not dump, out of the computer might say the answer is no for this loan. But you as a human being can't just go with that. Maybe, but not necessarily. Why the hell this computer said no? Let me try to figure it out. Oh. Sorry? I don't. But I remember when they started a long time ago, like a little small little thing, emptying like little stuff. I'll take that. It's very small back in the day. And for those who don't know that, you think that they became this big old Bahamas waste thing that's carrying out this great efficient garbage collection thing. They were not always. They started off small, one little truck zooming around, burning oil all day, trying to collect garbage. And that's how it is. Okay. So again, when you look, say, okay, why is this score so low? You find the lowest score is type of employment, and then you can go to your boss and say, excuse me, I know that, but this is Bahamas based. I'm just using them as an example. And so I think the score is a little too low. And should human beings have the ability to override the computer?
Yes.
Of course, depending on which human beings are in that organization. Because some human beings are operating like computers. Yeah. What the computer say? Clicking no, son, and that's no. You don't have no more. You can't even go like in the old days when I was a loan officer. You could go, but I think it's a good idea. Not like that anymore. Hey, look about you. Boy, what the computer say? No.
No, it's no.
Yeah, no, it's no. So you got to go to the customer.
The computer say.
Yeah, and then,
The computer say no. You're wrong for that. You're wrong for that.
Dominica, give me a break, man. I'm sorry. And for those who may be wondering why she's so hilarious, because many loan officers did that in the past, and they're still doing it today. In the old days, before we had the computer doing this assessment that we're talking about, people did it. And so when the manager said no, then the loan officer had to go like this, like, yeah, we're not taking responsibility. Excuse me, the manager said no. It wasn't me. God knows it, and Jesus knows it. It was the manager. If you can chop anybody, chop that too. Or that check. Absolutely. Nowadays, it ain't no manager in the bank. Who's the manager? No answer. So the banks are often managerless. Like somebody just answers questions. So now we go to the customer like this. The computer said.
Computer thought.
Yeah, and then somebody says, you mean that dumb computer? Yes, sir. So sorry. Don't you guys have an opinion? No, sir. Why not? I know. That's just how it is. If you don't like it, lump it. If you don't leave, you call police. Of course. Get the hell out, customer. I talked to a guy not too long ago on behalf of a client who needed some kind of facility help. I said, he said, oh, you're going to get a response from back office. I'm like, you mean back office behind you? Of course, I know it's not there anymore. He said, no. I know. That's why I'm being facetious about it. Because there's not much I have not seen nor heard. For real or for fake? Absolutely. So I said, you mean the back office behind you? I said, no, sir. Because nobody's over 30 anymore either. I just said, yeah, so you mean the thing I'm them? He said, no. He said, over there. Yeah, overseas. So I'm like, okay. Somebody's being devil's advocate. That's me again. I'm like, okay, great. It's not in the back there anymore. Give me their name, telephone, and email contact. He was stunned. Like, who the flick asked for the back office people down in? No, that's a big secret. They have everything on you. This me being educated and acting intelligent as a customer sense is my right and my facility. Can I get a name, contact, and email? No, sir. Yeah, they will call you. You give me your name, your bastard, and they'll call you. I'm like, okay, doggone it. When? We know. Maybe in 24 hours. Maybe in 48 hours.
24 months.
We don't know. You just wait. So you just go home with your tail between your legs like this and wait for someone to call you from somewhere.
That's why you should deal with a Bahamian bank. We're better for you.
Aha! Now the conversation gets interesting. But that's not in here. And that's why I put it. All right, absolutely. Okay. And then people get upset when you joke. And then when they finally call, this phone rings. This me. Hello? Hello? Is this Mr. Wilkinson?
Yeah.
Of course. Every now and then I try to be the devil's advocate. Yeah, what can I do to help you? I just was delighted to call this and we're checking in on the thing that was working out. Of course, I knew that was going to happen, but somebody has to be the devil's. What does that have to do with credit? Nothing and everything. That's the strange thing about it. Because I'm still wondering what the hell our information is doing in Timbuktu. Anyway, and you can't get any answers on that either. And when sent, our youngsters around the Commonwealth can't answer no phone.
I'm with you.
Or maybe I'm from the old school. Maybe I'm missing something. But why the hell we can't put a big building, rent a building, all these buildings on there, empty, painted, throw some Bahamians in there, give them a couple dollars? I'm sure they'll work for a couple dollars rather than nothing. I'm certain of it. And then let them answer the phone. You want to speak with Kevin? Hold on. I know. I don't
No,
mean,
but they're getting paid to do
no,
that.
I don't mean them. I mean the others.
Oh.
No, not that group.
Oh.
That group.
Filing an answer phone, they didn't do that.
No, we're not interested in that group. They can continue doing the egg, unfortunately. But I'm talking about that group who really take them.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be young either. They could be older people.
Retired.
Yeah, semi-retired and retired. Absolutely. Who don't need no big time money.
There you go.
No position, no nothing. Just get dressed and walk. Absolutely. Simple as that. And be very sweet.
They say it's cheaper, but it's that's that idea you gave. It's not cheaper. It's just that they choose to go.
I know. Rochelle, you see the color of my hair? Trust me when I tell you, I've seen all the garbage you could possibly imagine, real and imaginary. Sure it is. I've gotten more beating in my lifetime for confronting the truth of the issue. And when you raise it, nobody wants to deal with you anymore. They try to intimidate you, they try to fire you, they try to do all kinds of stuff. When you ask them, why the hell is it down there? Nobody, you know.
And they ask them why, yeah.
That's why if we have legislators that are really working for us,
It's not hard to do. That's my point. It's very easy. You just have to see, it's called this. Okay? WILL.
will.
You just need to have the will. If I tell you guys that I have 2 sons and not one day in their entire life right up to this day have they ever raised their voice at their parents, would you believe it?
Yeah,
In the 21st century?
yes.
Good. Because it's not a common thing. Never. I see kids telling their parents all kind of stuff, slamming the door, no, again, no way.
No, sir.
When my children were growing up, and then they knew, I spanked my oldest son once, and my other baby twice before they were 5. Never again, ever. Am I a perfect parent? Nobody is. But I sure as hell was deliberate enough. See, I had the will. I am your father. These are the rules. Yes. Do it again. Say your tables again. Speak it again. There will be no sleepovers. I don't care. You are guilty until proven innocent. And I drive them by the prison once or twice and let them cry. That's the prison. If you go there, you're staying there. Oh, daddy, they were little boys. You wouldn't come and see us. I'm like, never.
Yeah, but
I don't mean that. No, I don't mean that.
You try to teach.
All I'm
them.
really saying is, what I'm really saying is, like the will to do things. See, the call to the will. That's really what I mean. And if you have the will, most things can be done and will work better than expected. If you have this, I don't mean some version of it. Like sometimes you have it. No. My babies, no, it's not my babies. Even though they're men, they're still watching me. Why? Because they want to see if I'm going to make a slip from when they were small. See if I'm going to change my standard. So I'm under the gun every day. Every time they show up, I have to fix stuff. Because they still have the expectation that their daddy is an immortal freaking perfect. I'm not. It's only because you exercise the will, just to make a point on your point. And the same thing applies with this and anything else. All you need is the will. Absolutely. But the will is not easy, because the will comes under the gun with all kinds of firepower from all kinds of places. That's why when people try to access it, when they see stuff coming, it's run. What the flick? Never mind. I don't know more will. All right. Okay. So somebody from in-house now. Rochelle, you read last week. Malik.
He read last week.
Yeah. From Tamika, did you read?
Where we at now?
We
Oh,
read
she said,
capital
see,
policy.
notice to keep on me. Okay, credit policy, Dominique.
Credit policy. The word policy can be broad and frightening, can be a broad and frightening term. While most companies have their own policies, procedures, and guidelines, it is unlikely that any 2 firms will define them in a similar manner. Furthermore, while many individuals appreciate the need for a workable set of regulations, policy carries some negative connotations of bureaucracy and inflexibility. The word is derived from the same root as politics and police. And the sentence, "It's not our policy," can infuriate customers.
Absolutely. Has anybody been confronted with that expression?
Yes.
It is not our policy. Customers hate that crap. They don't care about your policy. What they care about is, can you help me take your policy and shove it? Okay, keep going.
In this paper, we will use a definition that appears in the Credit Executive's Handbook. A policy is a general course of action developed for recurring situations designed to achieve established objectives. We will examine the need and benefits of such a credit policy, the reasons for different approaches in various organizations, questions of how detailed or long a policy should be, or the need for supplementary procedures. We will then develop a sample policy together with some specific procedures, which can be easily modified for our own company needs.
Okay, the point I wanted to make here for you guys is that one policy does not fit all. It's like relationships. If you leave somebody, don't go into the next relationship trying to treat the new person like they're the old person. That's a completely different person. No matter what the similarities might appear to you, That's a completely different person. Have you ever, anybody in here knows any twins?
Yeah.
Persons who are twins?
Mhm.
Man, as much as they look alike, same size, same,
Different
the same.
personality.
Man, and they will let you know if you go too far. You
Mhm.
keep talking about how they look alike all the time. Excuse me, depending on who's the whippersnapper.
Mhm.
Stop referring to me that I look like my sister. I know it. I hate it. You bastards. Stop doing it. I'm a completely different person.
Different.
Absolutely. And yeah, and then they take an affront to being, who's a twin? Who's a twin online?
I guess no one, no, she responded.
Hello?
Not me.
I heard somebody said I'm a twin.
None of us.
Oh, okay. Frightened off the twin. But yeah, the twins, they'll tell you. So twins that have that attitude, imagine anything else. So no two policies are the same, nor should they be the same objective, because policies generally have the same objective to do things that are recurrent so that everybody's on the same page. That's why we have a policy. But again, policies are not supposed to be designed to the point where there's a lack of flexibility. Human beings still have to be able to override as appropriate. Otherwise, we're running a machine. And when people become machines, which is impossible, by the way, which means that we can only be asked to act and pretend, then we have a big problem. Okay? All right, keep going.
An opportunity for organization. There are at least 4 reasons to have a written credit policy, and they each add to the productivity of their entire organization.
This might be just a word to the wise. That research paper is gonna call for you to, and maybe this reason for the 4 reasons might be something that I'm just saying. Keep going, Dominica.
First, the responsibility of managing receivables is a serious undertaking. It involves limiting bad debts and improving cash flow. With outstanding receivables often being a firm's major asset, it is obvious that a reasoned and structured approach to credit management is necessary. Second, a policy assures a degree of consistency among departments. By writing down what is expected, the arms of the company, whether marketing, production, or finance, will realize that they have a common set of goals. Conversely, a written policy can delineate each department's function so that duplication of effort and needless friction are avoided. Third, it provides for a consistent approach among customers. Decision-making becomes a logical function based on predetermined parameters. This simplifies the decision process and yields a sense of fairness that will only improve customer relations.
And finally,
it can provide some recognition of the credit department as a separate entity, one which is worthy of providing input into the overall strategy of the firm. This allows the department to be an important resource to upper management. One can see that developing a policy is more than a necessity. It's an opportunity to improve the efficiency of the entire organization.
Absolutely. And any organization that you work for that does not have a basic policy, again, policies are always and should always be subject to change and adjustments, but there should always be a policy in place to guide the activities of that organization. If you work for a firm and you cannot find the policy, or the policy is dated 1929, just before the year of the crash of the stock market around the world, then you have a problem, Houston. Okay? Very important. Even in our households, we don't write policy, but policies are what? Established by our behavior. You follow? And so kids understand the standard in that home based on what we do as parents. A lot of parents teach their children how to do all kinds of things without writing a single word.
Exactly.
We teach our children how to lie by lying, how to connive by conniving. And children are always watching you.
Yes.
You may not think so. My kids used to be rolling over, playing balls and all that kind of stuff, doing the thing, setting up the blocks, but they're always listening. Because when I say to them as a dad, I heard that, you know. And I wasn't even talking to him, he wasn't listening to me, he was doing something on this. But they're always watching and listening, whether you think so or not. So when you're on the phone with your friend telling them stuff, they are listening to you. how you move. They're watching their mom. They're watching their dad. They're watching to see everything you do, whether or not you think so. And it doesn't manifest itself sometimes until they grow up. You don't see it in the children, but they just collect it and put it somewhere. And then all of a sudden, at a certain age, pre-adolescence or some crap like that, things start kicking. So why are you putting that rouge on your lips? Mommy does it. Oh, mother sick. I hear you lying to your best friend. Why? My mommy used to tell her friend that. Or my daddy like that. And you're like, what the fuck? When did that happen? Years ago. That's why when kids grow up and they do things a certain way, they don't know why they do it. Because they learned it when they were small, but they don't remember. It's in their subconscious. So policies don't have to be written. They can just be observed in our very behavior. But in organizations, they have to write it because they have to be accountable. And anything you don't write in an organization, you can hardly be held accountable for. Okay? Very important stuff. Okay, keep going. Why do policies differ?
Credit policies differ in both length and content. Concerning length, some are as short as several paragraphs, while others can go on for many pages.
Many, yes.
As one might suspect, there are advantages and drawbacks to each approach. In a positive sense, a detailed policy leaves little room for doubt. Procedures are spelled out and employees need only refer to their manual to know how to perform. There will be no gray areas between departments and consistency will reign. On the other hand, a long and excessive detailed policy can limit employee creativity and empowerment. New ideas on how to work in a changing world will be superseded by a set of omniscient
yes.
regulations.
Yes.
Also, a huge volume of rules can be overwhelming. There is the story of a cartographer who wanted to map his country so perfectly that he drew it on a scale of 1 to 1. When completed, he found that he had nowhere to place the map. Similarly, too many written regulations can actually get in the way of productivity.
Has anybody ever worked in compliance before?
I did a little.
Okay, and so compliance is very tick the box, regulatory to the point, to the policy thing. Yeah, and so that stuff can become boring, overbearing, and definitely takes away your sense of creativity. After a while, you're so used to just ticking the box and doggone following a prescription that you stop thinking even. You just come in, click and hurry up, like, and then sign it and date the hell out of it. So that's it. 5 o'clock, yeah? Like that. So there's no room, doesn't leave you feeling creative at all. And for some organizations, they're fine with that. They don't want you to be creative. Just follow the rules and tick the box, shut up and go home. We'll make the decisions on how to take all the money at the board level. How about that? Anybody heard of a Wirecard in Germany? That incident recently? The auditors went in recently and they discovered that $6 billion is missing off the balance sheet, and the CEO and the board cannot say what happened to it. I didn't say 6 million.
60.
6 billion.
What do you say, billion?
6 billion. Wonder what policy they had in place for that. How the hell they could not know? How the hell they could not know? It either has to be in the bank or in reserve or in the form of some asset. What did you purchase? They could not account for the $6 billion in the cash account. Because oftentimes these guys are planning to swipe money off and transfer them to offshore financial centers. Hopefully not the Commonwealth anymore. All right, keep going.
The above arguments present a question of balance. As noted in our initial definition, a policy must express a general course of action. It can be supplemented, however, with some procedures that can guide daily functions. We will use this approach in our later examples. The question of companies having policies with differing contents is worth mentioning. This can result from many factors, which may include the competitiveness of your industry, the location, profit margins, your company's goals for market share, the company's own cash requirements, production needs, or the size of culture of your firm. It is a truth that many policies can be designed and each one may be correct for a particular firm.
Make no mistake. And again, just like Rochelle said earlier, when I said something about, the corporate loans are the largest on the books, is to speak for your own thing, dude. For us, that is not the big thing. And we have our own big thing. And policies are like that. You have to establish policies that are unique to your particular firm, but not in isolation, because you have to look at your competition and what is around you and set your policies based on those things. Absolutely. Okay? I saw my wife the other day styling, like trying to style her hair. Like, I'm like, hello? You still styling here? She said, oops, I need to look sexy. I'm like, what? Oh. I'm like, your husband is an old guy. I'm like, he's gray already. She said, so? And I say that to say, no two policies should be the same because the environment keeps what? Changing. The competition keeps changing. Plus, sometimes when she's watching TV, like when we're watching TV, like the older guy runs off with the secretary.
Oh.
And every time that happens, she like gives me a look. I'm like trying to keep a straight face. Like it's not me. That's TV. So we have to be careful when we set our policy that is not so inflexible that we cannot adapt it to suit our environment and whatever institutions that we work for, if we are in fact responsible for these policies. Remember, even if you're not responsible, but you're working on a day-to-day basis and you see something that you feel could change things, help with the organization, if your organization has a policy that allows you to give a recommendation without stressing you. Because some organizations, they say, we want your feedback. And then when you give it, they act funny. And so you're confused, like, why are you acting funny? Then you say we can give feedback? So it's a strange thing. But if you do work for a firm where you can give feedback without any kind of kickback, throwback, drawback, or any other back, then go ahead and do that. Because you never know. Somebody might actually pick it up and becomes part of your policy strategy. You see? So my point I'm making is policies are very dynamic. They should be flexible. They should be something that can change according to the situation. All right, keep going. Finally.
Where is mine? Okay, with this in mind, we will not try to provide a generic credit policy. Instead, we will offer an approach for the development of your own policy in a format which may prove effective.
Yes.
Developing your credit policy. In order to write a policy.
Notice, why do you think I have a bracket around credit? Let me see how creative you guys are. Why did I put brackets around credit?
This is specific.
Yeah, the brackets mean that in developing your credit policy or, or any policy. So I kind of put the bracket that say, for us, it's credit, because that's what we're talking about, but it can apply to any particular policy that you might have to establish, which may not be credit. You follow? Okay.
In order to write a policy, there are at least 6 questions that you and your company must answer.
Now we know there's a much more, but these 6 are interesting. All right, number 1.
What is your mission?
Kiss my foot. You can spend a whole year trying to figure that out and have a big argument every time.
What are your goals? Who has specific credit responsibilities? How is credit evaluated? How is collection handled? What are our terms of sale? Additionally, other areas you may wish to include concern your company's views on reporting, ethics, quality, training, deductions, and credit interchange with other professionals.
Thank you very much, Dominica.
Kind of woman.
I know. Dominica.
Thank you.
How am I getting it? Are you ready to rip? Okay, all done it. That's why I said might as well get this out of the way now, rather than waiting around. Okay, then, Latoya, yeah?
4 components of a credit policy. Banks can minimize the risk of delinquent accounts by creating strong payment and credit policies. Consider these 4 methods. Credit eligibility standards. Research new clients by purchasing business credit reports or contacting credit departments in your industry. before extending credit, confirm that they have made good on previous obligations.
What do we call those previous obligations based on what you've learned already?
Credit score.
Yeah, scores, history. History first, which includes score, because your score becomes part of your history, along with some other things that become part of your history. Okay? Have you ever borrowed before? What's your score? What did you buy in your lifetime? What was the nature of your borrowing and all this kind of stuff? How soon did you pay it back? Were you ever delinquent? All of these things constitute your credit history. Okay? And at the end of the day, when you go to borrow in the future, or if you're a lender, you're thinking about these kinds of eligibility issues. What makes this client eligible to borrow from us? Have they met these credit history standards? Okay, number 2.
Credit terms. Consider industry practices and the credit worthiness of individual customers when crafting your policy. In some industries, new customers might start with a net 30 standard, allowing them 30 days before payments become delinquent. But one size doesn't necessarily fit all. Your best customers may warrant longer payment terms, such as 60 to 90 days. That's the mortgages, right?
In some cases, yes. I mean, it's interesting that you're able to make that application because this particular situation refers to a trading business where they will give you 30 days to pay your invoice. And I just threw that in there to throw you, but she made the connection. And the connection is the same thing will apply for those of us who are in financial services. And I also wanted to take the opportunity to let you know that credit issues are not just bank lending issues. A whole lot of different kinds of businesses have credit and collections issues. So if you're not working for a financial institution, this stuff is still very relevant. And you can work just about anywhere in the world. Of course.
They have receivables, and if you have receivables, you have people
who are not paying. And if you give credit, because let's say you sell shoes and you give credit to your customers, if you give them 30 or 90, 60 or 90 days to pay their invoices, you've given them credit. And rest assured, you have credit risk because some of those people are not going to pay you within the stipulated time. Some because they don't have the money, some because they don't have the cash flow, some because of Corona time. A lot of companies have gone under
because of Corona.
Make no mistake, and filed for bankruptcy because of Corona. Remember, bankruptcy doesn't necessarily mean you're going out of business. Bankruptcy is just to get protection from creditors. You know who are lending money.
Yeah.
Okay? Bankruptcy does not always mean you're going under and out of business.
I can't pay you your one.
Yeah, I can't pay you that doggone whatever I'm supposed to pay.
I can pay you 50 cents.
I want the court to approve it. So I could pay a portion of what I owe you until I could start paying you the full amount again. Okay? So those of you who are wondering, bankruptcy does not necessarily mean that the company is going out of business permanently. Oftentimes, it is designed for them to get protection through the courts from lenders, also known as creditors. Okay, keep going.
Some industries have their own billing practices, such as the construction industry, where customers are usually billed with a series of invoices. Clear documentation, requirements for purchase orders, contracts, credit applications, sales agreements, and invoices should all be documented and made clear to the client. The policy should include examples of each type of form and specify the circumstances under which each would be appropriate and or mandatory. Having formal procedures in place will make clear to your clients that you are diligent about the payment process and expect timely payment.
Now notice, folks, when this was established, it says credit and collections. It didn't say credit and collections for financial institutions only. It says credit and collections, which means that even though you might be working for a financial institution, a credit union, or some such thing, it doesn't mean that that's the only thing you can use this thing for. If they kick you out tomorrow, say, get out, Corona time, we don't need you, you can say, okay, I go on Kelly's, or I go on the Furniture Plus, where they also give credit. And they also have a collections department. So rather than starve to death, you say, man, I'll give me my certificate and I go on. Not going, but you have options. This does not only apply to financial institutions, banks, and credit unions.
And
insurance companies. Absolutely. Okay? That's the key thing. That's why I throw a little stuff of trading net 30, just like, okay? Absolutely. Keep going.
Collections. Your policy guidelines shall explain in clear language the steps you will take if an account becomes delinquent. You should provide information on late fees, charges, overdue notifications, and when delinquent accounts will be reported to credit agencies and or turned over to a collection agency.
Kiss my foot, which we'll talk about on the collection side. All right, just a little introduction there. By the way, I went into and there was a late fee thing.
Mm-hmm.
The late flicking fee.
You're late.
Yeah, what's this? $28. I'm like, what the?
That means make your payment on time.
Yeah, that's what it means.
$28.
Yeah. No, and so this means, but this Corona.
Corona?
That's exactly the look. They didn't say anything, but they have that look like Corona. Freak you. If you Corona or no Corona, if you don't pay, the policy, see, the same flicking inflexible policy said if we have to charge you $28. Now this means, but $28 could buy me rice. Now, folks, watch this crap. You see this $28 in Corona time? I know it's Corona time. No, that's not it. It's Corona time. People don't have no money. People don't even have no JOB. And I'm thinking, that's the person I'm thinking about. I'm thinking I'm now.
Why you didn't tell the people you need to default?
No, this is for Tingham now. Okay. So as usual, I'm arguing for people. So this means $28. I'm like, I could buy how much for 3 pounds of rice? Anybody?
$3.
3. Excuse, watch this crap.
Who that gonna feed?
Who? 3 pounds of rice? Man, when I buy 3 pounds of rice, I don't buy rice till the next year.
No, $3. 3 pounds of rice on either state. Come on.
That's what I buy.
But 3, I mean,
The little jasmine rice. It comes just like that.
I thought 3 pounds of rice was this big.
that could be that big, depending on which package it is.
Okay, well let's make it interesting. Let's say 5 pounds then, but you can buy rice
Brand
forever.
you talking about now?
Think well the middle.
No,
No,
you're talking about the cheapest brand.
Yeah, cheapest brand is
The one
Corona
that you
time.
Get from Solomon.
Yeah, how much is that?
$2.
$2.
5 pounds.
Yeah, because when things stuff, you don't discriminate.
Sun Supreme.
Sun Supreme.
Some rice you can't cook.
I don't know, that's $2. Only Solomon's is scared
Some
of.
rice you can't cook.
Can we cook any $2 rice anywhere? Okay, great. Let's go with that. $2.
Cook that rice, Mr. Wilkins.
Okay, let's get a $2.50 rice then. She
$3.
insisted.
You can't beat that.
Okay, $3 rice. Doggone it. We won't get rice. We can cook. Because we ain't want dead before the thing.
That's 5 pounds.
Well, whatever it is.
$3.99.
$3.99? Okay, $3.99.
Thank you.
Now,
I'm talking about them kind of rice.
how much for corned beef?
Almost $2.79.
How much?
$2.10.
Corned beef. How much?
$2.10 for $2.10.
Doesn't matter. $2.10.
Solomon.
Oh, no.
When things stuff, you don't discriminate about brand name and all that crap.
Oh, you want it something to eat.
Well, we talking about something to eat, people.
But I still have to eat brand.
No, we're not talking about you.
Restaurants, you don't say brand. You don't say what they go.
No,
you
we're.
just paid $100 for the corned beef.
She said, I don't care how.
And a gold plate, you have to pay the price.
I don't eat corned beef.
Okay. Let's say that ain't me. So that's not her. That's the resting of them. What else can you? What?
Everybody is eating.
Chicken. How much is? No. Let's not go there. Wings, because we hungry. When you're hungry, don't worry about this and that. How much you could buy like a bunch of chicken for?
A bunch of rice.
A bunch of chicken wings.
Put $5.
$2 for chicken wings by the pound.
Okay, so if I put $5, you get all kinds of chicken. Wings, I mean. Okay, something like $7. Doggone it. All right. Well, you're not talking about $28. No. What else now? Bread. Okay, how much for bread? Not that kind of bread. $3.50. Oh, fine. Nothing on bread. What else people need? Grits. Let's not forget that. Grits. How much for grits? 5 pounds.
Stay like $3.
$3. Thank you very much. Still inexpensive. Tuna. How much for tuna?
92 cents. They're like 92 cents or 102.
Okay, so you could get like 5 cans of tuna for $5.
Right.
And then you stretch that crap, freaking.
You gotta remember also.
Well, nothing to put in.
I forgot about that. I was no.
That's luxury.
Yeah, we're not talking about any luxury items. No, tuna's $1. No. Oh my. No, all you have to do, no, just put potatoes in it to stretch it, that's it.
But you can get it from at home. You get potato home and you get your chocolate.
No, potatoes.
No,
3 for 99 cents.
You can't afford no potato. You can't afford
Then
no
throw
potato.
the
You buying wings, you didn't take wings off of that.
Then
And you're talking about rice and $3.99. You that's a lot of rice.
throw the corned beef in it, don't put anything in it. Just cook it, and who don't like it, go to bed hungry. That's it.
That's right.
No ketchup.
Yes.
No, ketchup is a luxury.
No.
Ketchup?
Yeah.
That's tomato paste. Okay, you throw ketchup in it, and with water, and stretch it. Don't forget, you have to stretch it. You can't cook no regular corned beef. You have to stretch water. So that's 4, 6, 13, 16, 19. What is this chicken thing in the work we need to go down? So $3 a chicken. And no, we're not worrying about what they eat when you're hungry. Folks, any of you ever had any grandparents?
You need to buy oatmeal.
Yeah, oatmeal, that's true.
And give them oatmeal.
Absolutely. Just take out this toner and get a big old thing of oatmeal. That's it.
You just scratch it. Get oatmeal. You know how much oatmeal costs? You get the big, you know how long oatmeal lasts? Oatmeal is $12.
No, there's half the bag. They put it out for $2.99.
Get oatmeal and sweet milk and call it a day.
Yeah, a lot. No, but then rice, white rice and butter and all that stuff. So what I'm saying is this $28 late fee could feed a family for a few days.
Correct.
Don't tell me, I know for a fact it can.
Yeah, my situation different.
I know, ain't nobody talking about your situation, Latoya. We're talking about regular, down to earth, hungry people who dead hungry, not no thing on them. Who like, no. You cook that rice and you stretch it up for 3 days. Everybody get 2 spoons and go to sleep.
No. On Sunday,
2 spoons is a lot.
Like this, can't wait till you go to bed. You wake up Monday morning, you saying you're going to take that food for lunch.
No boys, I have a son who
have 2 boys.
Eating daddy food, eating food.
Trust me, I know.
And still turn around and say, give me one that I want.
No, saying
That's because we are still some of the, even, let me tell you a little secret. I'm glad you mentioned it. Oh yeah, it's $28. I'm glad you mentioned it because this reminds us that even the poorest Bahamian is better off than more than half of the world's population. Did you know that? Even the poorest Bahamian is better off than more than half of the world's population.
Yeah.
And we still don't even realize it. Okay?
That's true.
Make no mistake. There are places in India where millions of people, their monthly salary is $10 US.
Okay then.
Some of them have to walk 10, 20 miles to make $10 a month. In India and Africa and Asia and other countries, I am telling you, you give them 28 flicking US dollars, they'll die 1,000 deaths and feed more hungry bellies than you could ever imagine. I'm telling you. So we don't really know. That's why I laugh at my son sometimes. Dad, can you send more money? I'm thinking, what does do with things? But he has to think because all his life, he's lived the life of what? Like in rally. He doesn't even realize I'm getting old now. So he's like, no, it doesn't matter. Because he can't even conceive it.
Yes, correct.
And that's where we are in the Commonwealth. We can't even fucking conceive it. Okay? But I know about certain things when I was a little boy, where my Grammy made a certain thing. Now, don't get me wrong. My Grammy used to cook all kind of juicy stuff like okra soup piece. Like, don't get me wrong with that. But I'm just saying, the point I'm making is when she cooked, Here's what she said. See, if this was dinner, not that that was, if that was dinner, you would, I want it.
You better eat it.
But they don't argue with you. They put it there until it's time for it to go in the fridge. If you don't flick and eat by the time it goes in the fridge, that's it for you. Until when? The next day. And I can assure you, you'll only pull that crap on them once. And if you fix your...
Not name is William.
Oh.
No, sir. My grandma used to do that. And then she realized that he doesn't. This girl really need to eat this food.
Your Grammy, she serious Grammy. She was a modern Grammy.
I was a crybaby.
Doesn't matter. Until you freaking fall in the outside toilet they had. I know. Because the modern Grammy is not like the Grammy I'm talking about. I'm talking about a Grammy that was born in 1902.
Oh, that was for me.
Yes. By the time I knew my Grammy, I was who that she was, I was like 9. And by then she was like freaking 70. That's stuff you talking about. That's fake Grammys.
Right now, she will cook for me.
I know. Fake Grammys. Just like jiving. She's Grammy by default. Because they're young. No, I'm not saying she's not good. I know she is. I'm just comparing it to like a real Grammy. Okay, these Grammys you guys are by default.
Okay.
Because you know, when the children as early as the Grammys are young. I saw a Grammy the other day. She's looking. Like, what the frick? I didn't look at Grammy. I'm like, what the frick? Man, when I knew my Grammy, she was 70 with a shift. I just snuggled on there. She's so tough like that. These Grammys don't jive at all. Things have changed. So yeah, that's a serious thing. They're saying 28. Oh, that's sick. You give $28 to half of the world's population, they'll die a death. That'll be like the world is coming to an end. Tons and tons of money. It's an amazing phenomenon when you actually see it happening for real. Not just on TV like, oh, in Bangladesh. No, you fly to Bangladesh and you're Bangladesh in ease. In that position, is oh my God. You go to Brazil in those favelas. Where was I? Oh, Latoya, you started this thing. Okay, keep going.
Basic
All right.
outline for developing a credit policy. A credit policy is a document providing clear written guidelines that set
Terms and conditions.
Conditions for credit. 2, customer qualification criteria.
Mhm.
3, procedures for making collections. And 4, steps to be taken in case of customer delinquency.
Nice test question. See, let's stuff like that. Which category would that fall under? Definitions, T&T or short answer?
Short answer.
Yeah. See that? Just a little word to put you on
What
the.
is the basic outline for developing a credit policy?
My. It's almost a perfect question. All right, keep going.
Name 3 or 4. A credit policy,
Latoya's been around too long. This is me, 3 or 4. She's giving me hints now. Okay, keep. That's funny.
However, should be more than a list of credit department guidelines. Properly developed, it can be a critical tool for maintaining alignment on credit issues throughout your company. A well-written, comprehensive credit policy communicates a consistent standard to your customers. It documents and supports corporate goals, clarifies authorization levels, defines expectations and responsibilities, and enhance cross-functional cooperation, especially between the credit and sales department.
In other words, once there's a policy, everybody's on the same page. You don't go in one week and it's this, and then next week it is that, and then next week, no. If it changes, it must be for a specific reason. Other than that, it's supposed to be standard. Whenever there's a change, the change should then become standard, so that everybody is on the same page. When your customers come in to borrow the first time, you tell them the policy is X. When they come in to borrow again, unless something significant has happened, the policy should still be X. Otherwise, the customer will say, well, the last time it was Y. Why is it now X? Right? That kind of thing. And trust me, customers are sometimes the first ones to confront you. Yes, call names. That's why you don't take You still take that stuff on the counter in the modern society?
I don't know. I don't work in that section. I don't get them tips.
Oh. You have to be careful because when you take a tip innocently,
Yeah.
sometimes people turn on you.
Yeah, they that's for future. That's a payment for future.
Yeah, and sometimes it can come back to haunt you. That's the problem with it. Okay, by all means. All right, keep going.
While there is no single definitive credit policy, the following topics may be considered. Section 1, Credit Department Mission. Section 2, Credit Department Goals. Section 3, Roles, Responsibilities, and Authorization Levels. Section 4, Procedures. Section 5, Measuring Results.
Okay, just a little something for those of you who might end up in a discussion on the responsibility or anything of that nature regarding policy of any kind. Remember, policy doesn't have to be an elaborate thing. You may be asked to write a policy for a particular area in the particular department that you work in. Now that you know how the policy works, you might go in and say, if you guys would like to, I'd be happy to write a policy that governs what I do from day to day so that everybody can know what I do. So if I'm not here, you'll know what to do for somebody else to come in. There are so many different things you can do with this stuff, and it doesn't have to be a big old elaborate thing. It just has to be structured in a certain format like this and encompass what you do. Because a lot of people do stuff that nobody knows what's going on. If they're not there, everybody's stuck. Anybody knows about that?
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy thing. And if the person doesn't come back, then you have to start all over from scratch or bring somebody in from Timbuktu down there. They'll learn from Trinidad and here to help with that thing that was there. And then like that. Okay, so it's important to, even if you're not directly responsible, you might feel froggy one day and make a suggestion, and maybe you could. Maybe they'll love you a little bit more in that organization. Who knows about organizations? Okay, and then in conclusion,
a credit and collection policy can create a structured environment that safeguards loans receivable. To ensure it achieves your organization goals, keep these points in mind when formulating your policy. Number 1, the policy must be a living document.
Mm-hmm.
What does living mean?
Meaning that it has to be able to change.
Yeah, it should be able to subject to change. If you're dealing with any policy in any firm that is not subject to change, that is a problem. All right, keep going.
Routinely updated in response to the changing economy, market conditions, and the competitive environment.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, it must be applicable to all of your customers.
Not just some, see? Because some people have some policies that apply to the rich and famous, to the middle, and then think of them.
Nothing had changed.
Oh my God. And that policy is oftentimes referred to as the unwritten policy.
Right.
You don't write that down.
You don't
We
write
just
that,
do
you
it
just do
quietly. Yeah, like why are you doing it? Never mind.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, yes, that's part of the unwritten.
And they
You
want
notice,
that to be easy.
yes. Notice I didn't put that in here. You never see it in the academic content. It's always like she said, you just learn it. Yeah, like little children. When you go in, from day to day, you just watch and they tell you stuff and you just learn it.
Mhm.
And whenever you don't practice it, they remind you like this way, this stuff. But it could be done better this way. Excuse me, you want this job, you do it this way.
That's the way it's done.
But this looks like it's the wrong way, Mrs. Jones.
Bye.
And she walks away quietly. Okay. And then you said, did I do something wrong? She said, no. That was the NPA performance. Or Corona come around, they say we have to get rid of some people. They say,
First what?
yeah, first on. And you say, why work hard? Doesn't matter. You were the one that defied the unwritten rule. You should have known. Gave you enough suggestions. My. And then finally,
With limited exceptions.
yeah.
Number 3, it must incorporate the needs and help to accomplish the goals of management.
All right. So again, if you don't even remember any of that other stuff yet, these 3 issues are key. All right. It must be living. It must be for all. And it must be designed to meet the goals of my very powerful points. Actually, points that you can use for any destination. Doesn't have to be financial services. You go to become a nun. We still have nuns in the world.
Of course we do.
Yeah, so now it's up to our policy, that is a living document, we're gonna sign it on, and these things apply just about anywhere. All right, okay, thanks to Toya. Let's see who's next on my hit. Alkeisha. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Where's Alkeisha again?
Over there.
Oh yeah, Alkeisha. Okay, Alkeisha. Let it rip.
Importance of a credit policy. Many companies avoid the implementation of credit policy due to high administrative costs. A good credit policy is as important to a company as its sales and customer service teams. A strong credit policy allows for all other parts of the company to operate in a more broad manner because it opens up new avenues of revenue which were not there prior to credit being allowed.
I can't hear anything, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you can't hear?
No, is she in class?
She is. Yeah, she's gonna go up a little.
Thank you.
Can you hear that?
To be restrictive.
No.
What the hell? If I turn it, that'll help? Like, how would that help?
Oh boy, see that thing the other side of.
Yeah, that's a little tricky. Okay, Alkeisha, okay, see if we can go up one more, doggone, what do you call it in music?
Level.
Yeah, one more level.
Credit policies are not designed to be restricted thoroughly. They are put in place to provide structure and create efficiency in the credit department. The ability to extend credit to a customer is not given. It's earned by the credit worthiness of that particular customer. The credit policy is in place because the company is taking a risk when it extends work or materials to a project or client. Credit policy is in place to help mitigate the risk, formalize procedures for determining acceptable risk, and set up procedures for dealing with the credit relationship. Important components of credit policy. There are a number of elements that go into a credit policy. Some of the more important ones include maintaining good cash flow, reduction of the risk of bad debt, and management of debtors. Other important elements of the credit policy include the terms of sale. Each debtor needs to know when the payment is due and what the repercussions of non-payment are, and these are contained in the terms.
Who's a debtor?
Person who owes.
Yeah, the person who owes. Don't let me get you on that one, like it's an easy point, but who's a debtor? I think I should have been listening. Yeah, if you are Boreal, you are definitely a debtor.
I have a question.
Yes.
Importance of a credit policy. The opening sentence, many companies avoid the implementation of a credit policy due to high administrative costs. Stand on that.
I know. It's so fascinating that you would pick that particular one out. Not too many people do that. How did that catch your attention, Dominica?
Because I would like to know what they considered administrative costs relating to a credit policy. Because whenever you work in an organization, let's take a bank, because credit will. Any company that has credit, you have credit as one part, but then you also have the operational as the other component.
Correct.
Okay, and then in some cases you have the accounting.
Correct.
So why would the credit policy require such high cost, meaning, I guess, more manual, someone to actually constantly have to deal with it? I'm trying to figure out. Because
What that's all about.
Yeah, because in most cases, with credit, it changes, but it doesn't change as rapid as the other side of the
Agree.
Yeah.
The primary reason why this is referred to as an administrative cost, because there are a lot of financial and non-financial institutions that provide credit and have collection problems, and they just operate from the hip. They do not have any formal documentation of what the hell they do and why. And the complaint for many of them is the cost of hiring somebody to bloody write it.
But that's on all aspect. I mean,
Sure,
that's
but
on all
again,
cases.
again, companies oftentimes,
That is.
I know.
Independent.
Yes, on the company, remember, don't think about your company with all that money. Not only,
But all companies don't have all those degrees. So, I mean,
again, the reason why we pick on the credit policy is because let's not think about a financial institution for a moment, just think about non-financial, if you could. Oftentimes, companies that are involved in business activity, they give credit and they have collection problems, and they just operate, they say, pay me in 30 days, pay me next week, whatever it is. They don't have anything in writing that governs what they do. And so, yeah, or other places. You might think they do, but they don't have anything in writing. They've
Yeah,
been
but
do-
what I'm saying, not having anything in writing, I still don't tie it
open
into
it to
a high
risk.
administrative cost. It's just something, I guess, because they are not aware that it's a good component.
They are aware.
I wouldn't say that.
I
they're
know.
just lazy.
It seems like not a bank up though.
No, for
No,
example,
I still don't tie it into high
Like
administrative cost.
I know.
A high administrative cost, when you have to develop a whole department to do it, okay, because it's constantly
No,
changing.
no,
and
I see what you're
You
saying.
understand? That's when you say of high
No,
upper
that's-
administrative cost, that's where my
Yeah,
mind
I
goes.
That's not what they mean. That's not what they
Okay.
mean. Not that kind of high administrative
But
cost.
that's what
I know.
that
What it goes,
actually means.
I know, but high doesn't mean high, doesn't mean high. See, remember,
We ain't operating no gray area now.
yes, we are.
No,
High,
no.
yeah, high
We
is,
just talk with gray area.
I
now.
know. Be careful now. See, high is relative. What might not be same high for you
Mhm.
is high for that company.
Well, Aunt Jamie, I have a computer, they have computer system.
They have like contract, but they don't have like how she talked about the operation department. They don't have like a credit risk or credit risk manager or someone that's.
They don't have those things formally set up.
Straightforward terms and conditions.
They don't.
Pay me 30 days or like that.
Okay, and if somebody comes in and say you need to write it down and organize it, they may not want to do it because they don't want to pay to do it. Now, what is high? High is relative. Because remember, see this $28?
Yeah.
For some people, that's nothing. For other people, that's what?
That's rice,
High.
chicken.
No, high. That's a high amount of money.
If
But
you
you'll say,
ain't-
how
if
could
you
that be
ain't have
high?
no income coming in and you ain't get no savings.
Not only that,
right.
if you're in a country where $28 US is like $300 in the Bahamas, for that person, that's high. So again, it's relative. And so, yeah, in terms of what you're saying and all that stuff, to set it up, that's a high cost for a particular type of organization who needs to do that. The other thing is, if you go into a small organization and you say it'll cost you $3,000 to prepare a policy, they might say, man, I'm not paying you $3,000. I need that for other issues. Some people don't even want to pay an accountant.
Yeah, and now
I
that
still don't believe this check.
based
That's the
on,
other problem.
based on what she said, my mind went on, some business clients, most business clients don't have like their financials.
No, and they don't want to pay to have them.
Yes.
Okay? I have a guy, he wanted to get a small business loan. You know, the SB doesn't do the government thing. So one of the lenders told him, oh, you need to provide your income statements for 2019 along with your doggone VAT returns and all that stuff. Here's what the dude want. He want me to come and make up something, like scrap gang, like this, scrap gang like that. Why? Because he doesn't want to pay. And when I send him an invoice now for the little crap he thought thing, that I finally pull out of him, he's gonna argue with me. Because my invoice is only gonna be $300. He's gonna, oh, that's $300, and he's gonna give me all kind of BS about 300 lousy stinking dollars.
Now that you say that,
I hope he gets $300.
I probably won't.
I had a client.
Happened before, that's my point. So high is a funny term.
It depends on the person. I had a client.
It does, and the firm.
This man had his receipts. We asked him his financials, and God knows I lied.
I know, I do
He
it
had
all the time.
6, 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big sale, right? So we sit down and we go through to get the sale.
Sure.
But I mean, he have receipts, so we
Sure.
asked him, we say, so where your financials?
That, you want me to financials, and up right there in that gang, fix it. And they want you to do it free or for little. Did you charge him?
No, we couldn't charge it. I went to the bank. I did it for my application.
Oh, you should have sent him to her.
No,
Right? You should send them to a
Yeah, I
what?
mean, bank fees related to,
But
depending on
I
how
mean,
much
some
work is
people
involved in
don't-
the application.
Some people that
There's a range for the fees.
No, theoretically, she should send them to,
An
An
accountant.
accountant.
correct. And tell them when it's done, bring it back to me as your.
wasn't.
You
I know what you mean. Trust
had to
me,
make that
as a
coding.
former banker,
You had to
folks
make
ask me
that
to do
coding.
that stuff all the time.
Some people
But
don't believe in that.
I know, but again, some banks have a
Average, like, the
policy.
Smaller businessman don't believe
Yeah,
in that
that's,
sort of stuff.
yeah.
Because the reason why they don't believe is they don't pay.
I think they think they're hard.
No, they don't believe.
Scary.
No. Two reasons why they don't want to do it. One, they don't want to pay, and two, they don't want you to know what the hell they're doing. That's the primary. Trust me. See, what color is my hair again? Absolutely. That means I've seen anything you can imagine, real or imaginable. Absolutely. And yeah, he got away with murder, that one, because you should have just referred him. Yeah. All right. How did that come? Oh, yeah, that's high cost. But yeah, the only point there, Dominica, is that high is relative. For some
It
organizations,
depends on the, it
on
depends
the
on the
organization,
business. Okay.
absolutely. Okay, so if you have a big organization, they'll say it's too high to do it right now. That's why a lot of big organizations end up doing what? Paying high fines when regulators come in. The regulators come in and say, you don't have a compliance policy, do it. So, it costs too much to get somebody to come in and write up a whole compliance policy for this big. So next year or two, the regulators come in again. So excuse me, where's the policy? We ain't do it yet. Really? $10 million in fines. When you frickin' do it, come back and let us know. And if you don't do it next time, we'll fine you up. Of course. Now, all of a sudden your high cost is now what? Even higher by 10 million. Had you spent the 2 million to do it, that you refer to as high administrative costs, then you wouldn't have had to pay the 10 million, and then have the regulators talk negatively about you that you don't follow or respect the regulator. You bastard, sort of thing. Somebody's really terrible. I just say it like that's the drama. But that's what is really happening. Because banks around the world are being fined hundreds of millions of dollars. The same banks, when people say, can we get a raise? And we ain't got no money to pay you lowly employees. You want to raise again? But when they get fined by the regulators, the Securities Commission of the US and the Bahamas and other places around the world, some of they find them millions. Where the hell they found it from? But they can't find it for you know, think of them around the world. They can find it for board members, CEOs, senior management, and to pay regulators fines for not following the bloody rules. Who brought Amika started that? The Hyman administrative fasting. All right, who's reading?
One of the more talked about elements of a good credit policy is the credit analysis. There are a number of options to evaluate the credit of the potential client. The credit analysis may be the one most important aspect because it can prevent a bad debt from ever happening if the credit analysis is set up properly. The final and arguably most important part of the credit policy is the collection.
Absolutely. So many firms operating without a collection policy, it stinks. Everybody just wing it. Call them, make them pay, and report. But what format should the report take? What's the policy? We don't have any. Just report. Find a way. Just get the money. There shouldn't have a policy that governs the way we contact the person, how we do it. Just get the money. Okay? And so you'll see when we get into the collection side, there is a way to establish a policy for collections as well that governs so that anybody who's coming in can know what the policies and procedures are for the particular organization that they're working for. They don't have to try and figure it out or wait for somebody to come and bring them some wisdom. Like this, do it. Pick up the phone, dial. Don't forget to put in the thing. If people have a policy, they can look at it. They have a general guideline as to how they should do things, so they don't fall into too many potholes along the way. Some people don't show you a policy. They don't have a policy. They just wait for you to fall in a pothole. When you fall in a pothole again, girl, try not to fall in. So what's the policy then? Don't worry about that. Just keep going forward. It's you again? Yeah, somebody said that's the best teacher. I had to fall in potholes. Nobody teach. So you break your neck just like me. Why should I make the road easier for?
I don't make it the best teacher.
Not always.
You break your arm, I must break mine too. You tell me don't do that, I gotta break
What's the name? Let me see.
Go to the
Let
bank
me see if I can get this doggone thing right.
Misery Love Company.
Kaisha. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She said her Grammy. Man, she said if she didn't do it, I'll cry.
Shut up.
Cut it. No policy.
Yeah, I had a niece like that when she was little. She come all the way from second somewhere in the US. And then
My Lord,
anyway.
I grab me that the policy.
No. That's why I say she's a fake guy. My Grammy had it unwritten. It wasn't even written down. It was no. Grammy walking. What? French. Man. And my mom was like the miniature version of my Grammy. So after spending 2 years with my Grammy, like I went back home to a junior Grammy. Because that chick, I tease her now, she's 88. I thank her now for that. But back then I was like, man, they must be hate me. But my mother was a very meticulous woman. Just as you said, she has figurines. I had to touch them every day. You walk, you never sit in no front room. You don't sit in my mother's living room, you will live to regret it. You only walk past that until you grow up. No, look, the only thing you do in there when she says, clean it, dust, sweep, shake the rugs, but you don't go over there like, like I see these kids, foot up, like flicking like this, sleeping. Anyone. Yeah, he's the problem. Or these people.
No, Edward. You don't have to take a gate. You don't have your gate.
They finally got the message from this. I had a father-in-law. No, you can't. No, see, if you're married to his daughter, you can't do that because that's a daddy. That's a funny thing.
She coming to the door.
Whatever. No, you getting that? She's getting mad at you. Put you up.
My children can tell my place sleep.
Oh,
And they knocking on the door.
What is that? I should have known that.
My eyes closed.
Mommy say she's sleeping.
Don't try to tell her to shut up.
You do that for these people?
No, my children. When my children come looking for me, I place.
What about when these people come?
Oh, I have to be in the season for
I had a father-in-law, my father-in-law a long time ago. When he came to visit once, he like this. See some people like this, sat down, put up like this. Ah! And then I had to say,
no,
Dad, my children don't do it. Nor do I. He got pissed.
Never come back.
He came back, but he was pissed for a while.
He wasn't pissed. Pissed when you don't come back.
No, some people learn the lesson and don't come back. Others are persistent until you finally do
really
something.
hurt their feelings.
You have some that do catch it and then some just like, nah.
They ignore it. They catch it. Yeah, who said that? 16-year-olds. Yeah, they get it, but they so bold and brazen. It's do something. You married to my daughter, let me do it. Do it. And then she joined the fray. She started talking to you, said, "What kind of egg? And if you don't be careful, they'll cause you and your wife to break up. Of course. And they say, you need that stinking man anyway. Or whatever people say. The same man who looked after her well until they showed up with their persistence. Okay, who's reading? How did you get to that? Oh yeah, collections. Keep going.
The collection policy goes into effect when the debtor is late on payment. There should be a series of letters and other correspondence to the debtor notifying them that the past due amounts and what may happen if the amounts are not paid in a timely fashion. The collection aspect of the credit policy will also include any liens that which need to be filled, sending the debt to a collection agency, and then finally a lawsuit if the debt is worth litigation costs.
Again, this is the collection side of things, but it shows up here because we want to let you know that the policy should also include collection activity as well. There are some companies, they create a credit policy and since they see credit, they don't create any collection policy because they don't see the connection. Like, what's the connection between credit collection? There's a direct link, correct? Of course. You cannot be thinking about one without thinking about the
No way. You lend your money and then figure out how to
how you gonna get it back? Trust me, you must know.
Always feels like an afterthought.
Yes, for many companies, it's an afterthought. Like they have the strange notion that somehow everybody will.
pay.
I don't know where that came from. Okay, that's a pretty naive situation. And then finally,
Importance of having a smoothly functioning credit policy. There are a number of reasons why a credit policy is beneficial to any company willing to implement one. The policy enables positive cash flow and keeps the receivables coming in. It also greatly reduces the amount of bad debt that a company will have to write off each year. Lastly, it keeps the client relationship working more smoothly. When clients owe money, if they are contacted in a non-intrusive manner, they will be more likely to pay than in some disorganized manner.
which we'll discuss. Which we'll no need to apologize. What I'm curious about is what made you smile?
When clients owe money,
What made you
they are
smile?
contacted in a non-intrusive manner.
Yes.
They are more likely to pay.
Yes.
Lie.
I've heard people say, she rude, I ain't coming in here.
Well, again, just like administrative costs, it depends on the customer. Just how administrative cost depends on the organization, that stuff. Yeah, there's some customers, no matter how unintrusive you are, you will not be successful. In fact, some of them are so strange, you have to be downright almost rude in order to get them to respond. Okay? So yeah, remember, this is the academic version, non-intrusive. But we know in the real world, we should try to be what? Non-intrusive, courteous, kind to our customers. No, yeah, professional at all times, no matter how stinky they get, and rude, and cuss you out, and call you stink. That's your mom. You're black as me, whatever it is.
Yeah, you
No,
can tell them, you can tell them in a professional way. But see, they expect you to respond
Now,
the way how
remember,
they respond.
of course. Well, they don't expect you to respond at all. And if you respond in a manner that is equal to them, they're gonna forget that they were rude and say that you were.
Yes.
It's a strange thing. For example, it's like people who like nasty, like my grandma used to call them like nasty people. Like nasty people, they always want you to be nasty. They don't want to change over to being neat. Here, this you. Can you clean that up? They're like, who you think you are? And then you're like, well, nothing. What they basically want you to do is like convert.
They want you to go. clean
Yeah,
it up.
like you clean it up or you be nasty. But don't ask me to what?
Do it.
She clean up or become neat. You clean it up, you bastard, or shut up.
Yeah.
I think we got to end on. All right. So when we come next week, we'll finish off discussion on the types of loan and blah, blah, blah. Then we'll go into the all inclusive lending and approval process, which will be the end of our lecture for just before the examination. So please go ahead and read the next section on loan applications and approvals. You notice I have a little typical loan application there. Have a look at it in case you haven't seen a loan application before, just to kind of let you know what a basic application looks like. How do we go about it? And how do we go about coming up with the yes or no? All right, good luck with that. I'll see you guys next Wednesday when we'll finish up and get ready for our examination. Remember, do not wait until the last minute. Oh, yeah. You didn't get an exact figure, right?
No.
No, that's just an estimate. I'll talk about that next time. Oh, you actually worked it out.
Yeah.
Good. 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 Yeah, it's just an approximation. Good stuff. Most of the time, students just kind of read it with the help of that. Glad you did. Just by doing it, it kind of gives you the insight, like, how did they do that? Okay. This was something like what we do, things like that. All right, have a great week, you guys, and I'll see you next week. In one piece, please. Okay, guys, well, see you guys next week. If you have any questions, please send me an email or a text. Don't forget, if you don't get your emails by tomorrow, start following up. Start your delinquency practice.
Okay.
Good night, and see you next week.
Good night.
Well, let's put Nancy, she could send me with that little invite. I can be outside.